you say.
Boogity. Let's go racing, boys.
Let's go racing, boys.
Man, it's hot here. Holy cow.
Let's go racing, boys. Oh, yeah.
Kevin Harvick wins the winner.
What a weekend for that guy.
Jeff Gordon gets his first Phoenix win.
Unbelievable. I can't believe we finally won at Phoenix.
Love it when it's forward. Love it when it's fast. Love it when the leaders cross the line. Love it when they make it lots and lots of noise. Can't wait to hear the W say. Let's go racing, boys. Let's go racing, boys.
Saturday night shootout.
Let's go racing in the desert.
And we welcome you to NASCAR on Fox from the Valley of the Sun. The last time Fox Sports in town, it was the Giants upsetting the Patriots in an unforgettable Super Bowl. Which driver will provide the lasting memory tonight? We're going to find out who's the Eli Manning behind the wheel. They have crowned World Series champions in the Phoenix area, the Bowl Championship Series, and a NASCAR champ could roll. There's the Daytona 500 winner and the pole sitter, Ryan Newman, as we welcome you to our Hollywood Hotel here in Phoenix. Darrell Waltrip, Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers.
Can I say one thing?
Sure, go right ahead.
Don't ever say I do things crazy. Do you realize how crazy it is stand up on the top of that mountain like that? You could have fell in that hole.
The amazing.
I know, there are a lot of people wish I had them.
The amazing thing is we could still hear you after all that. Hey, just a quick reminder, those of you checking out the Red Sox and Yankees, and we'll be watching it with you too. They're in a rain delay. Boston leading at Fenway 4-3. They've had some problems with the weather there. The tarp is on the field. Once they get back to playing, we'll make sure that you see the action. Again, the Red Sox with that one-run lead at Fenway. Yankees batting in the top half of the 8th inning. Hot temperatures tonight, and we're not at night yet. The sun hasn't set. Let me tell you how hot it is. It's
How hot is
it's
it?
funny. It's so hot that Toyota called Jack Roush just to get the cold shoulder. That's good. Okay. All right. That's a little bit of a NASCAR
I wouldn't have done that
joke.
if I were you.
All right. But how will the temperatures affect the race and the vision of the driver? He starts out in the bright daylight, right? And within an hour or so, the sun goes
Well,
down.
here's the thing. We're used to the sun being a problem going into turn 1. That's because we used to run here in November. But the problem now is off of turn 4. When you're coming out of the third and fourth turn to the third and fourth turn, you're looking into the sun as you exit that corner. Actually, it just blinds you. You don't know if anybody's there or not for an instant. So that's an issue that the drivers have to deal with. And we did a little safety report. We'll get into that here a little bit later.
All right, and we will talk about Carl Edwards, the driver from the Show Me State, shows us after every win his athletic ability when he does the backflip from his car. The 28-year-old Edwards worked his way into NASCAR when he handed out business cards, and now he's a card-carrying member in Victory Lane.
Cousin Carl, he is picking them up, laying them down.
Checkered flag. Carl Edwards wins.
Carl Edwards is in another league, man.
Carl Edwards does his second backflip in a row. Carl Edwards gets his third victory.
Good job, guys. I appreciate my fans and everybody sticking behind me.
And Carl, it is Roush Fenway 4 joining us from down on the track, ready to roll. 3 wins already this year. Carl, thanks for being with us. How is the heat, and how do you gear up for it in a race like this tonight?
Man, the heat's good for me. I've got my trainer, Dean Golich from CTS here. He's helping me make sure I get plenty of vitamin water, but I like the heat. I like it when it's hot and slippery, and we got to manhandle these cars. This is going to be a good race for us.
Hey, Carl, DW, I'm picking you tonight, buddy. Just so you know, I'm picking you tonight. But listen, I got to ask you about this. I heard NASCAR was considering making some major changes on this new car. What do you think about that?
No changes. The car is perfect. It's fine. It's good. I mean, it's a real competitive car. It is hard to drive, and yeah, I mean, it's easy for me to say right now I love it and I don't ever want to change anything because we're winning. But I think that as long as it's hard to drive and it's really moving around, people are wearing themselves out driving, I think that's a good thing for the sport.
I was just kidding, by the way.
Hey, all right. Dang, you got me on that one.
Carl, this here is Jeff. The key thing I want to know right now, you guys were so dominant last week. I mean, great calls by Robbie Reiser in the pits, but you've only got a couple more races to go, and your main man, Bob Osborne, is going to be back. And you've got to believe that when he gets back, this team is going to be stronger yet.
Yeah, very grateful for Robbie and everybody, and Chris Andrews stepping it up. But to have Bob come back is going to be great. And at first, I think he didn't mind the a week off here, a little time at home. But he's wound up, ready to go race, and I can't wait to have Bob Osborne back.
Hey, Carl, we talked about your fitness this week up at Infineon Raceway. I know you helped with some youngsters in the Bay Area to raise awareness for child obesity. You rode mountain bikes, you ran a half mile, and then you even took part in kind of a grape stomp. But you've also been on magazine covers for health and fitness, especially for a driver in different temperatures and situations. How important is fitness, and some question, are drivers really athletes?
Yeah, well, drivers are definitely athletes. That only really shows up on the real hot, terrible days. I mean, you don't have to be an athlete to race these cars, but I think to perform very well, it helps. And I mean, trust me, from a guy who used to make fun of people who work out like I do now, if you folks are out there and you're thinking about starting a workout regimen or being healthy, it's the greatest thing you can do in your lives. And as a race car driver, it's helped me too.
Yeah, and it allows you to do that backflip after you win. So,
well, yeah, that's the 100,000 people cheering that allows me to do that. That gets me going.
Is that the bicycle that was tied to the fence at Texas? You get it loose?
Yeah, the bicycle's free, so there's no more bicycle restraint down here.
No reason to pay the ransom.
All right, have fun and stay cool. Thanks, Carl.
Good luck,
Thanks,
buddy. Don't let me down now.
All right, DW. See you.
All right. He's the matinee idol. He's the new American Idol of racing. I mean, he's the dream driver, right?
But you know what? Here's the other thing about him, too. Look at the attitude he has. That's what I love about this kid. And a lot of it's just because he is physically fit. And that's a big advantage that he has going into these races, particularly when it gets hotter. So he's in shape, he's got a great attitude, and he's enthusiastic, and I like that.
All right, what about the kind of driver he is?
Oh, we've already seen what kind of driver he is. The first time he came on the scene, he got up on the wheel and made a move around Atlanta to wind up winning that race against Jimmy Johnson. Everybody kept saying, there's no way you can do that, and he did it. That's the key to this young man. He's learned how to have car control, and he can get it done with the best of them. I don't care who it is. I would love to have Carl Edwards as my driver.
And we'll watch him tonight. Starts in the row 2, and Jack Roush, the Midas touch, everything he touches turns to a muffler. Or something like that. Here's what's around the turn. We'll keep tabs on that Yankee-Red Sox game and a rain delay in the 8th. But coming up on this show, Jeff Gordon, a rough finish last week, but he raised everybody's spirits with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Happy Harvick, second in points and having a good year. When the sun goes down, the racing heats up. Darrell and Jeff will zero in on that. On the hit list this week, the drivers tell us their greatest rock and roll bands of all time. And then gas and go. Sometimes things get tongue twisted when our guys talk. It's NASCAR on Fox from Phoenix. And we welcome you back. NASCAR on Fox and the Subway Fresh Fit 500 here in Phoenix. Look who it's Jared from Subway.
Guys, I had to bring some presents. We've got VDW. We got you a nice ham because you are a ham. Oh, thanks a lot. We got you a nice turkey sub here. What? You're a big turkey. We know that.
I like
Come
that.
on.
And we don't have bologna. And I figured, you are a little cheesy after all.
I guess so.
There you go.
All right, I'll do
a nice veggie sub for you.
I'll do the jokes. You lose the weight. Okay.
Absolutely.
Which, by the way, congratulations, 10 years of losing weight, 245 pounds. Sure,
remember, guys, at all your local Subway sandwich restaurants right now, you can get $5 footlongs, and you can get the fresh fit ones, which I brought you as well. So.
What are you taking smoke? What's he like?
I don't know. I think he's going to be a roast beef guy today.
Roast beef.
I hope he wins. We'll see.
All right, thanks a lot, Jared.
Guys. Good to see you.
And Tony Stewart's car, talking about Tony, the yellow Subway paint scheme on it, showing off Subway's relationship with Joe Gibbs Racing. The first time that Stewart raced at Phoenix, he won. It's rare that he doesn't have that complete Home Depot paint scheme on there. Part of that with Subway. Speaking of Home Depot, Ask the Pros, built by Home Depot at foxsports.com. It's getting better and better. Last week, Tony Stewart was there with Darrell, Larry, and Jeff on the site. Now, Tony's crew chief, Greg Zipadelli, added as well for questions. Go to foxsports.com/Ask the Pros, built by the Home Depot. Get your answers to questions anytime. Well, just as baseball agreed on a new drug testing program, NASCAR may be forced to re-examine theirs. 25-year-old driver Aaron Fike admitted that last year he used heroin on the same day that he raced at Memphis in the Truck Series. He finished a career best 5th in that race. Fike arrested on drug charges 1 week after the race. Now, NASCAR's current policy is to test for drugs upon reasonable suspicion. Fike's revelation, though, has caused some drivers to call for NASCAR to test more often for drugs. And, Jeff, you are part owner of a truck, and Fike drove for you. Did you have any idea that he had a problem with this?
Absolutely not. We were totally caught, off guard by this whole situation, Chris. Very embarrassed. And, again, what we have learned since then, we as owners have got to be able to build in a situation where we have a contract with the driver that allows the owner, in our case, myself and Tom DeLoach, to be able to test our driver to make sure we didn't get caught in the same situation later on. So, it's something that kind of has evolved. We always thought that the NASCAR policy that was in place was ample to kind of cover things. But now, after this latest situation, we all know that we've got to go another step.
Yeah, NASCAR with a zero tolerance policy, and they handle things tough, Jeff. But some of the drivers were saying, hey, we haven't been tested. We're not being tested. Should they test more, or should they have an independent test done?
Well, that's my suggestion. They need an outside agency to come in and test these drivers on a regular basis, maybe 3 times a year. That way, the drivers, and it would be randomly done as far as the time goes, so the driver doesn't have time to maybe prepare. I don't think we have a problem in our sport. I think that there's always these one-off. Jose Canseco, he tried to throw everybody under the bus, and I don't think that's what Aaron's trying to do, but I don't think we have a problem in this sport. But I do think we should have a consistent testing program. But I will say this, I know for a fact a lot more people have been tested in our sport than we know about. So it's not like they've stuck their head in the sand and ignored it. They are on top of it.
Not public testing. We'll keep an eye on the story again. Aaron Fike, a Truck Series driver, it all falls under NASCAR's heading, but no problem certainly in the Cup Series that we are aware of. We're counting you down to the start of tonight's race here in Phoenix, and we'll check on that Red Sox-Yankees game and a rain delay in the 8th inning. We'll keep you posted here on Fox. The Subway Fresh Fit 500 on Fox is sponsored by Subway, where Tony Stewart goes to fuel up. Subway, race hard, eat fresh. By Sunoco, fill your car with the fuel of NASCAR. Sunoco, it's what's inside. And by non-drowsy Claritin allergy products. All right, Darrell, this is not Jeff Hammond without his high-def makeup. That's the Phoenix Suns, the famous gorilla mascot. Now, he's the latest to go 8th over the Digger T-shirts at our Gopher Camp that we broadcast here at Fox. You can get your own. Go to foxsports.com or dwstore.com.
That's where I'd go.
Yeah, that's a good. They got all kinds of good shirts there. A look at the championship point standings. Jeff Burton, your leader. Dale Earnhardt Jr. 4th. Denny Hamlin has made up 25 spots in the last 5 races. Jeff Gordon out of the top 10. Only the top 12 drivers make the season-ending 10-race playoff chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Championship. Well, for Jeff Gordon, the 4-time champion, finishing last is unfamiliar territory for him. He had gone 320 consecutive races without finishing 43rd in a 43-car race, which is where he wound up last week in Texas for only the 2nd time in his career. For starters, Jeff would like to avoid not finishing. He already has 3 DNFs this season.
Something is broken. They had the hood up.
What happened?
Suspension failure. There's definitely a problem.
Oh, there goes Jeff.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time we struggled this bad. I wish I had an answer for you. I don't. We're just really, really bad. You can't go through the year like this.
Last year, Jeff Gordon checked Phoenix off his list, claiming his first win at the desert track. And I guess after last week, a nice feeling coming back to a track where you have won. What has this last week been like for you coming off of Texas?
Well, I mean, anytime you have a weekend like that, we've had them before, not very often, but, you want to put it behind you and get back to the racetrack. And, this has been not our best track either, but we did win here last year, so we've got some confidence from that. And it's been a pretty good weekend. I'm feeling pretty good about things. And right there at the end of practice, I thought we really got this DuPont Nicorette Chevrolet running good. I'm anxious. We qualified 11th, but I feel like we're a little bit better than that.
Well, Jeff, you have a secret weapon this week. You have 15-year-old Joshua right here from Poughkeepsie, New York. Make a wish. His wish was to visit with you. 200 kids have wanted that wish. You are one of only 2 people to grant 200 wishes.
Well, it's a real honor for me to get a chance to meet these kids. And Joshua, we're having a lot of fun, and he's having a great weekend. And hopefully we can give him a victory because he's already, put a big smile on my face by getting a chance to meet him, and just really thankful for what Make-A-Wish does by granting these wishes for all those kids out there.
Joshua, I have a feeling I already know this answer, but who's going to win this race today?
Jeff Gordon.
That's what I thought he was going to say. And that really puts things in perspective. 200 wishes, almost as many wins, 81 wins for Jeff Gordon.
All right, thank you, Krista. NASCAR, they don't only take care of their own, they take care of other people in need. And how about the latest Vogue magazine, right? A-Rod A-Rod's on the cover, but inside there's an article on Jeff Gordon and how he reaches far beyond. And by the way, Jeff Hammond's going to be in Unpopular Mechanics coming up next week. I kid, you know that.
At least I'm in a magazine.
That's nice. Hey, Jeff, I'm going to be in a magazine called Vague coming up just a little bit later. That'll even the score. All right, this is the first of 12 races that finish under the lights in NASCAR's 36-race schedule, and two guys who are never in the dark, but they love the spotlight when it comes to night racing, Jeff Hammond and Darrell Waltrip.
Hey, welcome to the AutoZone Pit Zone. Things are a lot different when we come to our first night race of the year. This heat gun kind of helps us give an idea how hot the racetrack is at its hottest, and when it starts to cool down, how grip is going to kind of come into play, and all the adjustments I've got to make as far as air pressure, the chassis adjustments to try to stay ahead of you complaining about your chassis because it won't turn through the center of the corner.
Me? Why?
That's exactly right.
The big thing the driver has to do, now we're going to go through a transition from daylight to dark. A lot of times you're out here practicing, you got that nice dark tinted shield on there, hop in the car, you put that thing on. It really doesn't bother you when the race starts because the sun's still up. You get in the race and all of a sudden you realize, yikes, I should have changed this shield to a clear one. What a lot of guys will do, start with these sunglasses on and then have the clear shield on for when the lights come on. The other thing, Jeff's done a good job for me, thought ahead, put a little tape down on the window right here. So if the sun is setting in the afternoon and it starts to get in my eyes, I got a little sun visor here that he put on before the race started. Good job, my man.
Well, I appreciate that because I'd hate to have to use this gun on you.
Whoa, I was afraid of that.
And we'll be watching that closely as the sun sets here in Phoenix. So we invite you to play AT&T's Fantasy Racing Challenge. Text in the car number you think will win at 2258. You play along, you can win $31,000 or other great prizes. We're counting it down to the start of the race in Phoenix. Also, the Red Sox leading the Yankees 4-3. They're in a rain delay. Top 8 in Boston. We'll keep you posted. We're glad you're with us on Fox. Sunny late afternoon here in Phoenix, counting you down to NASCAR on Fox and the Subway Fresh Fit 500s. Who will land in victory lane? We know that Ryan Newman is on the pole and that Dale Earnhardt Jr. is trying to end a winless streak of 69 races. Back with the guys, Darrell Waltrip.
I'd like to be doing that
I'm
right
glad
now.
if you wasn't sitting here beside of me, I'd say, uh-oh, there goes Hammond.
That's right. All right, time for our NASCAR news and notes. And tonight's pole sitter Ryan Newman went from 8th to 10th in points after his car failed the post-race inspection last week in Texas. His crew chief, his owner, also penalized. Johnny Sauter will take the wheel tonight in the 70 car after sitting out the Cup season so far. He replaces Jeremy Mayfield, who was let go by Haas CMC Racing after finishing 38th last week. 23-year-old Michael McDowell from Arizona, surviving that spectacular crash in Texas, also surviving Ellen DeGeneres and a number of other media obligations as a number of programs interviewed him about his safe recovery from that crash. Kyle Petty back in the 45 car this weekend, replacing Chad McCumbee. Unfortunately, Petty did not qualify for this race, even with his new crew chief, Stuart Cooper. And time for gas and go. All right, you're on the clock.
Boy.
No one knows the contents of these questions, and some people don't care about the answers, but I do. I think they're entertaining. You're on the clock, Darrell. All right, last week we talked about the Petty team, and you said they had some real issues.
Yeah.
The 45 not in this race, so here's what we're asking. Who's to blame, and how do you fix it?
Well, I mean, if you even look at Bobby Labonte, he's running okay, and that's the premier car in that operation, I'd say. I think there's a lot of things got to be done with Kyle's car. I think Kyle's got to really take a hard look at what he's doing. I heard he said, I told you this last week, he might drive for another team. He might want to think about doing that.
All right. Jeff, for you, Denny Hamlin's crew chief, Mike Ford, very critical of the green-white checker finishes. What do you think? You think we need a change here, or do you think it's unfair?
No, I think it's very fair. I mean, the fans themselves deserve to see the finish of the race. And I think NASCAR's come up with the right formula. Give it one try. That way it's not totally unfair to the competitors. It's something we've been dealing with, and I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, Mike thinks it tears up cars. He actually, his 38th birthday tomorrow, so happy birthday, Mike. All right, Darrell, for you, does it surprise you that 40-year-old Jeff Burton is so strong? I mean, his career's been rejuvenated. He gets nervous.
He makes me nervous
because,
on this stuff.
you know, it's good to have an old guy up there with the young guys.
Well, I wouldn't call him an old guy. I'd just say he's got a lot of experience. He knows how to finish races. Got to take care of your equipment. That's what guys learn as they mature and get older, how to take care of the equipment. Doesn't surprise me he's sitting up there leading the points. The question is, can he stay up there all year?
Yeah, I should say he's one of the oldest guys. He's the only 40-year-old in the top 20. And I wasn't talking about Dick Berggren. I know there's a joke in there somewhere. All right, Jeff, will Dale Earnhardt Jr. continue the early season success but not yet win the race. I mean, how's that working?
I think it's working fine. I mean, these guys have been very consistent so far this year. They struggled, yes, but all in all, he's been there every week. He's not been a disappointment. He maybe hasn't been able to get that victory lane, which everybody's just waiting for, but he has showed a level of consistency, which I'm very impressed with.
Yeah, I like what he's doing, Chris.
Okay. Daryl, are you surprised Tony Stewart, we always ask him, that Tony's yet to win?
I don't care what I think.
This season.
Are
we surprised that Tony hasn't won yet this season?
Well, I think the big surprise is that Kyle Busch is sort of leading that parade over there at Gibbs right now. And Denny Hamlin's got to win, Kyle's got to win, and Tony doesn't. But this guy is a middle of the summer, second half of the year driver. Watch him. He'll pick it up about June, July. He'll win some races.
Putting a tear off on that thing and a little smoke.
Yeah, it's a little dirt track trick. Tear those off when the sun goes down.
It would be fitting in the Subway Fit Fresh 500 that he have success. Your uncle Bud Doble, a big Red Sox fan, passing away this week in Nantucket. My uncle Frank Myers, passed away this week, was a big baseball fan, enjoyed the Cleveland Indians. And we will continue to count you down to the race, but they'd both be interested in finding out the results of the Red Sox-Yankees. So let's go live to Boston, and Joe Buck and Tim McCarver in the rain delay. They're ready to play.
The green flag is just waved in Phoenix on the Subway Fresh Fit 500. Here they come to complete lap 1. Pole sitter Ryan Newman out in front. Those of you following Yankees Red Sox, the rest of the game will be over on our Fox cable partner FX. You can go to FX for the rest of the Yankees Red Sox game as we're underway here in Phoenix on the 1 mile oval for 312 laps of NASCAR Sprint Cup racing. And Ryan Newman, Daryl, has wasted no time in jumping away from this field.
Well, Mike, when you start on the pole like that, I mean, you're in the best position set on the start here, but back in the field, he doesn't want to look in his rearview mirror. I can tell him that, because it is crazy behind him.
A cluster of cars for 4th place. 4 cars under a blanket. Mark Martin, number 8. Kyle Busch, the 18. Jimmy Johnson in the 48, and the red car that you're riding with is Casey Kane.
Now, Kyle Busch won the race here last night, running the line. He's running right now up high there, coming off the corner. You get a lot of straightaway speed, but you lose a lot of time in the corner doing it right now. Mark Martin trying to make the pass as he comes over here and starts off turn 2. But you see that momentum the 18 has as he exits the corner by that high line. He keeps his engine really wound up.
You see the glare that they will fight here for about the next hour as this track transitions from sunlight to shade, and then we'll end this race at night.
Yeah, that's one of the big factors in this race, Mike. One of the obstacles you have to overcome. A very unique racetrack. We don't have any other track like this. A 1 mile track with a little knot down the back straightaway. But that sun is what really is a factor off turn 4 right now. How's it look down there, Larry?
I'm telling you, Daryl, it's the most awesome sight until you do this. And what's amazing, I'm looking dead in Ryan Newman's eyes right now.
Larry, that was some of the best reporting you've ever done right there. Come on up here.
Thank you.
We're missing you.
Larry McCracken
I'm here coming your way, boys.
waved a very special green flag to start today's race, and in a few minutes he'll join us here in the broadcast booth. The Boston Red Sox have defeated the Yankees 4-3.
Well, that'll make my Uncle Bud Doba, who passed away this past year, big fan. That'll make him happy. Say hello to Stevie and everybody up there in Nantucket today.
Ryan Newman in a Dodge. Carl Edwards, 3-time winner this season in a Ford, and Elliott Sadler's Dodge that started outside front row, leading Kyle Busch's Camry. Casey Kane, Jimmy Johnson, and Mark Martin. Look at the glare from Tony Stewart.
Yeah, and that's off of turn 4, which is kind of different than what we all had anticipated here. We've only raced here 2 times a year since 2005. All of a sudden we come here in the spring like this and the sun is in your eyes off turn 4. Used to be going into turn 1 in November.
Caution free through 7 laps. This is the type of condition in which the drivers qualified and have practiced most of the weekend. Warm, full sun on the racetrack, little shade down in turns 1 and 2.
Well, the strategy for this race, Mike, is twofold. You set the car up to where you have adjustability in it for when the track does cool down and the sun goes down. Right now the car's got to be a one-way for it's hot and slick and sunny, but as the sun goes down, the track cools off, you got to be able to make changes to keep up with the racetrack.
They'll race in close to an hour of sunshine, transition to dusk, and then finish this one long after dark.
And they do that with spring rubbers in the springs. They can pull them out or put them in, air pressure, track bar, the normal adjustments.
There's the difference between turn 1, where the asphalt's 92 degrees, turns 3 and 4, where it's 110. And just like walking barefoot on a sunny driveway versus a shaded one, well, those tires feel the difference just like your toes would.
Oh, by all means, you'll hear the drivers say that, hey, I'm good in 1 and 2, but I'm a little loose or a little pushy in 3 and 4. And we got a yellow already.
Debris on the racetrack down in turns 1 and 2 have put us under the first caution of the day. We have completed 10 of 312 laps. Ryan Newman from the pole, the 43rd pole of his career, has led them all.
And Mike, right, this is from a driver's perspective, it's a great time to have a quick yellow, because now you can debrief just a little bit. 10 laps into a run, you can tell your crew chief what you think the car's doing and what it might need as you get ready for your next pit stop.
Newman leading Edwards, Sadler, Kyle Busch, and Jimmy Johnson.
Let's go racing, boys! Let's go racing, boys. Let's go racing, boys.
Larry McReynolds waving a very special green flag to start today's race.
That flag just arrived back in the United States 2 days ago. It's been over with the 447 Expeditionary Group for the U.S. Air Force over in Baghdad with those troops and their families.
Did you have fun?
Daryl has told me, Jeff has told me, they could not do it justice.
No.
And you know, to see, look in those guys' eyes, and to see them shading their eyes right now going down the front stretch.
Yeah, we saw that with Jeff Burton.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. was among the drivers who pitted under that caution.
Green this time. One to go this time by. They found something else out there.
And he'll restart 28.
Now, Junior's got tear-offs on his helmet. See that little clip right there, that little piece of tape? He'll tear that off.
So make it a great race day, folks, with the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Just turn left. There you go. And enjoy Budweiser, the great American lager. Ryan Newman has led the opening 14 laps from the pole. Since winning the Daytona 500 in February, Newman had led only 3 laps since then, but he's earned his first pole since Charlotte last October.
We saw in Casey Kane's Budweiser car, we saw the clear shield that he has on with a huge amount of tape on the windshield.
And I would say those guys that pitted at lap 12, it was because they were not happy with their car. Now, I will say last night in the Nationwide Series race, you get up about 15 or 20 laps on your tires. Fresh tires was worth a lot last night, and this is the same tire they raced last night.
See all that tape on the windshield? I mean, that's way down there, but then you see Carl's got the clear shield on, so he's using the tape and going with the clear shield. Yeah, Larry, you're exactly right. Last night you needed tires.
A lot of drivers, Carl among them, wearing sunglasses under that clear shield that he can take off and discard once the sun goes down. There's the glare problem coming off turn number 4. Now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was one of those who made pit stops under this caution. Chris Devoto.
And Junior, very tight in the center of the turns. That's the reason they came in, made a 4-tire change, also an air pressure adjustment. You see there the amber colored shield that Dale Earnhardt Jr. is wearing. We've been talking a lot about the glare. Mike, you mentioned tear-offs. A lot of these guys, the shade down here in my section, turn 1, a lot of these guys took the tear-offs off before they even went onto the track. Tear-offs. See Junior there, the glare on his shield. There's Tony Stewart. You can see how the sun is affecting these guys.
Stewart has an orangish shield with the dark tear-offs.
And I think I think what the drivers did, they went out of the pits down there in the shade, and they said, oh, I don't need these. And then they get over here and they're looking off of turn 4 into the sun. They say, whoa.
Now, we had 16 cars that pitted. In the perfect world for those guys, we'll run maybe 10 or 15 laps here, and maybe they'll get a caution and they'll get their track position.
There's a look at Phoenix International Raceway, ready for our Claret & Clear to Drive restart. Live Claret & Clear, indoors and out. Down the front straightaway, which is actually straight.
Yeah.
Unlike the backstretch.
Backstretch has got 2 little straightaways in it with a little turn right in the middle. This track has 3 straightaways.
Call it a knot.
Yeah, knot. Got a little knot back there. Got the front straightaways long and then 2 little short ones in the back with a knot right in the middle. I bet you watch Carl Edwards get after it now. Last night his car took 8 or 10 laps to get going, and it looks like it's the same way today. Here he goes fighting for the lead with Ryan Newman.
Tony Stewart under pressure from Jamie McMurray. Denny Hamlin has Jeff Gordon alongside, and for the lead, here comes Carl Edwards. 3 victories this season. He's got a bead on Ryan Newman down the front stretch.
You can see Ryan really drove it off into turn 1 and 2. In fact, Carl got into Ryan Newman just a little bit in the left rear. He'll try to win the drag race up the back straightaway. But Newman gets a good run on the high side.
That's not unusual to see these cars do that. They don't have a lot of front grip. That's a big complaint, and Carl just lost the front end for a second. And here comes the guy that won last night all over the back of Carl, and he won't play around.
I was going to say, look who's coming to dinner. That 18 car, Kyle Busch.
That's a boilerplate looking stuff on his car, but he uses it as it is, as if it were a boilerplate.
And right with Busch, the defending series champion, Jimmy Johnson. So it's a foursome for the lead in Phoenix.
I love the way this track lays out. It's so unique. It's a 1 mile racetrack, but it's got elevation changes in it, believe it or not.
Side by side for the lead. The kind of racing we've not seen a lot of this season. Here it is.
But we knew when we got here that we would get it. You can see right there, pretty much Kyle Busch in the 18 car. The smoke was how deep he's driving it in the corner, brake smoke.
But this is the kind of racetrack where this car, aerodynamics are not such a big deal. The 1.5 miles is where this car is struggling right now. But these other racetracks that we've been to, Daytona included, this car's been pretty competitive.
See that 48 car getting in the mix there, ran more laps than anybody yesterday. A lot of fingers were being pointed at that car this morning. That would be the car to beat, the 48 Jimmy Johnson.
I think there's a number of cars that were at the top of the board, 48 and the 8 Mark Martin, who's right in behind this little group right here. He was fast in practice yesterday too.
We know Ryan Newman in the 12 is a great qualifier, the best qualifier in NASCAR over the last couple of years. But are you surprised that nobody's been able to get the lead from him?
Well, he's got the right line, Mike. He's running up a little bit high off the corner.
Half back, looks like he's looking outside.
And that high line will give you a lot of straightaway speed. Plus, this car needs all the racetrack to be able to pass somebody. Hard to get under somebody and make a pass.
You know, Mark Martin at that 8 car, he told us yesterday he had a car that could win this race. Now, this team, they run the full schedule, but Mark Martin's doing something that's hard to do. Being competitive running a limited schedule, that's tough.
Here's a guy, though. Look at that 18 on the outside. This is the same thing they did last night. They say you can't learn anything by running in the Nationwide Series. He learned one thing. You can pass a lot of people on the high side.
3 wide for a moment. Jimmy Johnson forces the issue way on the bottom.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson was all the way down on the apron, which will help that car turn. It makes it hook.
If the car is tight, use the apron to make it turn.
And Carl Edwards suddenly finds himself 4th in the 99.
I actually think Carl was playing nice. You know, he gave a lot of room up there when he was racing with Ryan.
Jimmy Johnson trying to hold 3rd as Edwards fights back on the outside, and Mark Martin makes it a 5-car battle for the front spot. Matt Yoakum.
Jimmy Johnson might telling his team the car is so much better than it was in practice, and Larry Mack touched on how good it was. You talk a lot about battling the sun and then into the night. This is where this team really excels. 3 times they've won the Coca-Cola 600, where we start in daylight and end at night. But this team battling the sun as well. Not only does he have a tear off on the shield, he also has pieces of duct tape with little tabs, so he can pull those pieces of tape off himself, as the sun is an issue more and more for Jimmy.
Johnson battling Kyle Busch for 2nd. Newman has about 2 car lengths of breathing room out front.
Well, the line that the 48's running is a preferred line, and it'll get you by people if you keep working it.
And that
Ryan
car
Newman
is working.
Has led every one of the 25 laps so far.
The Subway Fresh Fit 500 on Fox is sponsored by Subway, where Tony Stewart goes to fuel up. Subway, race hard, eat fresh. By Toyota, moving forward. By the auto parts experts at AutoZone, get in the zone, AutoZone. And by Sprint, welcome to the 2008 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Speed is beautiful. Major League Baseball on Fox earlier today. Jonathan Papelbon coming out for his fourth save, getting Robinson Cano for the final out in a game that was interrupted by rain, and they finally sealed the deal. The Red Sox beat the Yankees 4-3 at Fenway. Moments ago here in Phoenix, Jimmy Johnson moving in front of Ryan Newman to take the lead, and charging up in the field is the 88 car Dale Earnhardt Jr. Let's rejoin Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds, and Mike Joy.
Dale Jr., who pitted on the first caution, restarted 28. He's up to 12. Ryan Newman has led the first 30 laps before giving way to Johnson.
Yeah, well, Larry and I were just talking. I believe coming in getting those tires was a good move right now, particularly as hot as it still is. Fresh tires can make a huge difference right now. And here you go. Here's your lead change, and that 48 car is running the bottom to perfection. That means that car is turning. To be able to run the bottom lane like that under somebody means your front end's working, your car's turning.
And it's getting in the corner good because he can turn the steering wheel.
Carl Edwards now third, Mark Martin fourth. Kyle Busch has backslid to fifth, ahead of Casey Kane and Tony Stewart.
You know, Jimmy Johnson won the last time we were here back in the fall of last year. And with that team having its woes with this new car at the mile-and-a-half racetracks, had a good run at Texas last week, finished second, and here he is leading this race.
His teammate Jeff Gordon struggled last week in Texas, but said in pre-race that they found something the end of practice. He thinks they're going to run well. He's 14th right now, Steve Burns.
Yeah, Mike, he's lost some positions as this race has just gotten underway. He said his car is super loose off the corners, but as crew chief Steve Letarte told me this afternoon, the longer this race runs, the better that 24 car will get.
Yeah, the thing about it, though, is this track cools down, it's going to help everybody. It's going to give everybody better grip.
Yeah, that's the thing that I think sometimes you fail to realize that, yeah, it's going to help me, but it's going to help the other 42 guys, too.
Where Jeff Gordon was last week is where Matt Kenseth is today. Kenseth did not qualify particularly well, started 21st, and he is now last.
I think it's just the way this car is going to be for a while. Just remember, we've only been running this car. We haven't even run it a whole season yet. The car that we keep comparing it to is a car we had run for 20 years. So you got to give this car a break. It's going to take a little time, but they're getting it better every week. It's kind of hit and miss for some guys, but the ones that hit it are fast.
I tell you one that's missing right now. In fact, he came to pit road on that first caution. Jeff Burton, our points leader in Sprint Cup, the 31 car. Dick, it looks like they still do not have that car where they would like to have it.
No, they sure don't, Larry. He had a tough time trying to make the field. He qualified 39th. That's his worst start in 18 tries here at Phoenix. And at this point, he's got two problems. Problem number one, he's having a very tough time seeing coming off turn 4. He's asked for a lot of help from his spotter to see where he's going, and the car is pushing. So vision and pushing, the two main problems with car 31. Jeff Burton, your points leader.
And we brag, Doc, we brag on all these guys that have been doing this for a long time, how smart they are. But I looked at Jeff Burton on the parade lap, coming off turn 4, holding his hand in front of his face because the sun was in his eyes. He didn't have a tinted shield. He doesn't have any tape on the windshield. He really was not prepared for what he was about to have happen to him.
You can see right here, not very much tape at all up there on that windshield. It's like they just were not that prepared for what we have here.
Good bit of glare off turn 4, and that will continue for about another 25 or 30 minutes here.
Oh, he'll be all right.
We saw last night.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be okay here in a little while, but it might be too late. He's going to go a lap down if he keeps running the way he is.
5th place on back, Kyle Busch continues to backslide. You're riding with his teammate Tony Stewart as Casey Kane in the 9 goes by on the outside.
And that 9 car looked awfully good in practice. The Gillette Evernham, they came with kind of a new package here, especially for Casey Kane in the 9. Elliott Sadler that sat on the outside of the front row in the 19. Looks like it's paying off for Casey Kane as we've got caution here at lap 40.
Matt Kenseth's bad day continues.
What happens when we don't do our job there? Just
he hit the wall hard, knocking the right front to the ground.
I'd be curious to know what job it was they didn't do, because you heard Matt say that's what happens when we don't do our job, and they've definitely missed something big time on that car.
Pretty bad on the right front there, Chip.
Kenseth had fallen to the tail end of the field. There's his wife, Katie. Probably was hoping to catch a caution rather than become one.
He's got quite a bit of damage to the right side of that car. And this car is very resilient. I mean, it's a car that you can scrape the wall with, but I think you're going to see that he got a lot more than just a scrape.
The car just never turned when he got to the late exit. Well, I know a place that's going to be busy, Dick Berger and Pit Road. Here they all come.
Oh boy, they sure are. Jeff Gordon is going to be the one that we are going to cover. He qualified in the 4th position, running in the 4th position, has had a very fast car here at Phoenix for the entire duration. This guy's led more laps than anybody else at Phoenix, and he's looking Matt.
Motorsports swept Phoenix last year. Jimmy Johnson trying to make it 2 in a row for himself. The car, great. Little issue, just on exit of 2 and 4. Kristen.
Ryan Newman has lost the lead because his car has gotten loose. They're making a track bar adjustment, dropping in 2 rounds. Also an air pressure change. Ryan needs his car tightened up just a bit.
Ryan Newman picks up 2, getting off pit road with that #1 pit stall. And Dave Blaney stayed out on the racetrack and did not pit.
Comes in here 37th in owner points, only 23 points out of the top 35. This will give him 5 bonus points.
Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear for track-tested technology. Get there on Goodyear Innovation. The Goodyear blimp shows us the one feature, the signature feature that makes this track unique.
Yeah, it's kind of, I call it a knot. You could call it a bump out. It's just got a little knot right in there that, man, it really changes this racetrack dramatically.
You know what makes this racetrack such a challenge and unique? It has short track corners, nice and flat, but long straightaways like a speedway, especially when you drive it off in the corner at those speeds.
Turn 1 is pretty fast.
Matt Kenseth has taken his damaged car to the garage as we get set to restart and begin lap 47.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88 car, he's up to 6th. And remember, we go back to the last restart at lap 16. He restarted in 28th.
You know, one thing I think we'll see, it may be a little while. That 48 car is committed to the bottom, and you get your car set up a certain way, you're going to run that. You're going to run the line your car works the best. Before this night's over with, we're going to see cars running really, really high. But this car just kind of accommodates running a high line.
We mentioned Dave Blaney stayed out on track, but not long enough. He pitted. The leaders went by under caution, and lead changes are only measured at the start-finish line. So Blaney officially has not led a lap, and for staying out when everyone else pitted, restarted 42nd.
Just talked about Dale Earnhardt Jr. He just drove by Tony Stewart in that 20 car. That'll move Dale up into the 5th position, the top 5. That car right there behind Tony Stewart, I think that's going to be a car we're going to need to watch too. Martin Truex Jr. in that 1 car. This has been a good racetrack for Martin. Had a great run going here a year ago and got burnt by a caution that came during a rash of green flag pit stops.
Well, you got to believe if Mark Martin is running well, then you got to think Martin would be pretty good too.
All right, Matt Kenseth came in here in the point standings in 13th position, Dick, spending a lot of time in the garage.
Indeed, Mike, this was a brand new car when this race started, but it is very, very badly damaged. The lower control arm, they're taking that off. The shock absorber is bent. The splitter has got to be replaced. They've got a lot of pieces and parts to change in the front end of this car.
And I tell you what, Ryan Newman saw that 48 coming for the lead, and I think he said, you know what, you're better than I am right now. It's way too early to push the envelope. So the 48 car, Jimmy Johnson, back to the front.
Yeah, and the other thing too, a smart driver, where if you're that fast, let me get behind you, see how you're beating me. Where are you beating me? What have I got to do to get where I can run with you?
You know, back to Matt Kenseth, this is his 300th career start. This will be one he'll want to forget, I think.
Half the racetrack in shade, half still in sunlight as we transition toward darkness here in the desert. And when that sun goes below the horizon, it's like flipping a light switch for temperature and, of course, for the outlook of these drivers off turn 4.
Yeah, it'll go from the high 80s down into the mid 50s before the evening's over with. That's a huge change for the track conditions.
Carl Edwards to 2nd underneath Ryan Newman.
Good job, Buck. Get your rhythm back now.
And Dale Jr. closing on Newman's bumper.
And see, I think this proves another thing to me about Carl Edwards. They say, well, he's won 3 mile-and-a-halves, but this is a totally different animal right here, and he's running good tonight. That tells me they don't only have it figured out on a mile-and-a-half, they got it figured out everywhere.
Jeff Hammond.
What I've been watching, guys, is the fact we talk about Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Larry McReynolds early this week. We talked about how this is a relatively short race, only 312 miles, and you've really got to make a lot of adjustments. If your car's not quite right, don't be afraid to bring it to pit road and make those adjustments. And what I'm seeing so far in this 88 car, good move by Tony Eury Jr. to bring him in, work on that car, and now he's able to move his way up through the field, take advantage of these caution flags. And the way that car looks like it's going around here, he could very easily be the guy that you got to beat before the end of this night.
But no, you're absolutely right, Jeff. It's a 500, but a 500 kilometer, 312 laps. I'm looking at Denny Hamlin right now in the 11 car. He's battling for the 7th position with Martin Truex Jr. and Mark Martin. Go back a year ago. You have to be mistake-free in this race because last year that car looked like no one was going to touch it. He had a pit road speeding penalty early in the race and could never get back to the lead. Ended up finishing 3rd.
I like what Tony Jr. did with Dale Jr., but remember, he's got 15-lap fresher tires than these other guys. He's going to have to pit 15 laps sooner than these other guys.
Well, not now that we had that last caution because everybody's on the same cycle now.
You're right. He got his track position. He's good to go.
Denny Hamlin, the purple on that car, the March for Babies, part of the March of Dimes campaign. With Denny Hamlin and his team at Joe Gibbs Racing support. Mark Martin just ahead of him in the 8th position. Boy, this has been quite a group and a lot of action back here, Larry.
Yeah,
about 15.
Yeah, this with Juan Pablo Montoya, the 42 car, Jamie McMurray in the 26, and that's David Rudiman now in the 44 car.
Yeah, and this is when you prove how durable this car is because they've been beating around on each other. You'll see wheel marks on the side of several of these cars. They've really been using each other.
Now, David's dad, Buzzy, an East Coast racing great. He's up in his 60s. Did I hear you talking on the flag stand? Buzzy's already won a race this year?
And he's getting ready to run another race next weekend. These guys down on the flag stand, since we're off next weekend, they're going to go watch Buzzy race.
East Bay Speedway, Tampa, Florida.
You got it.
He's got a really good sponsor, too.
His son?
His son.
Yeah, right. Greg Biffle looking underneath Mark Martin, his former teammate. And that'll be for 9th place.
And you see those flames coming out of the exhaust pipe. We get asked a lot about that. And these guys, especially on into a run, they'll kind of part throttle a car, and all that is just raw fuel burning in the exhaust pipe. And then the minute they go wide open, puts the flame out.
Blows it right out.
Steve Burns.
Mike, you see Juan Pablo Montoya in the 42 and Jamie McMurray in the 26. They were side by side, but they have different problems. Montoya tight in the center, 26, he's very loose, no grip.
This is not a very good way to explain that, Larry, but it takes a real deep breath and then it belches.
There you go. That's exactly right.
Sorry, folks, but that's what it does.
What did you have for lunch?
Subway.
Oh, okay.
Jared fixed me up.
Can't blame it on that then. Jimmy Johnson leading as we cross through 60 laps in the desert.
Yeah, that's right. I am in front. Stay tuned for more NASCAR on Fox.
The Subway Fresh Fit 500 on Fox is sponsored by Budweiser. Reach for the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager.
66 laps in, Jimmy Johnson in front of Carl Edwards. Edwards eating into that lead. It was 1.8 seconds. It's coming down a tenth or two every lap. It now stands at a second and a half. Ask the Pros, built by the Home Depot at foxsports.com, just keeps getting better. Last week, Tony Stewart joined Darrell, Larry, and Jeff on the site. And now Tony's crew chief, Greg Zipadelli's on board. Go to foxsports.com/askthepros to get your NASCAR questions answered anytime. Now, Kyle Busch is running in 12th place. He's Tony's teammate. He won the nationwide race last night. And last week, Kyle described the sweet spot of handling in these cars as like standing on the edge of a razor blade. Well, it appears that razor blade has inflicted a cut.
I have no grip, zero. I can't get in, I can't get through the center, I cannot get off the corner. I have no rear grip. If you give me rear grip, I'm going to have no front grip. So I have a 30th place car right now.
But you know what? I watched the race last night.
We'll get some wedge in it.
I watched the race last night. Had the same problem. Difference last night, they got some cautions, kept tires on it. Good news is he did win last night.
Larry, you don't have to be that good at this stage in the race. You do have to stay on the lead lap. You have to keep your car in contention. But the nighttime is the right time here.
It is, but yeah, like you say, Mike, you've got to be in touch. You can't end up going a lap down. But what Kyle is warning Steve Addington, his crew chief, is don't hurt my front grip to help my rear. Fix the back of the car, because if you try to work on the front of the car to help the rear, then I'm just going to lose grip up there. And that's a challenge.
But the other thing, Larry, is, I mean, a driver right now, if he's in trouble, he needs to be telling them, give them good feedback. Don't complain about the car. I mean, the car's not doing what he wants it to. Tell him what he thinks they need to do to help him.
Now, just to update the Carl Edwards situation, again, Carl qualified third. He's running second right now. Let's make sure and go back and talk about Las Vegas, his second win of the year. He's won 3 races. They had the oil tank box lid cover rule infraction. His crew chief, Bob Osborne, was suspended for 6 races. That's like an NFL team being without their head coach for 6 races. So you've got to tip your hat to that race team. Chris Andrews, the team engineer, has been calling the shots on this car on Friday and Saturday. And then Robbie Reiser, who's a championship crew chief from Matt Kenseth, who's in the garage area right now, is on the pit box calling the shots on race day. Bob Osborne will be back on the pit box in a couple weeks.
That's the difference in a lot of these race teams. That's depth. When you can go to the bench and bring in somebody else that can fill in for your coach, then you've got a great team, a great depth in your team.
Pole sitter Ryan Newman led the first 30 laps of this race. He's now fallen back to 10th as Mark Martin in the number 8 makes the pass.
Now, I just watched Mark in the 12 car, and Mark was clear up, but the spotters are down here on top of the roof in turn 1. As that car comes off turn 4, the spotter can't tell for sure if he's clear or not. So the spotter could have cleared him up much sooner than he did, but I'm sure it's because he just doesn't have a good view from up on top of that roof in turn 1.
And you know, as I watch this battle right here, and there's the spotters you're talking about. Yeah, they're going away from you, going down the back straightaway, coming at you down the front stretch. But as we were watching that battle with Ryan Newman, I want to give one more attaboy. I know we've got a long way to go here tonight, but David Reagan, once again in that 6 car, in his second full year in this 6, driving for Roush Fenway. Here he is up there battling, trying to get in the top 10. Had a great run last night, had a good run at Texas. This kid, I think, even though a lot of people were doubting him last year, he's really coming to his own here in his sophomore season.
I can't explain what's happened with David Reagan, except it's like trying to teach someone to ski. Water ski or snow ski makes no difference. You can't do it slowly. You can't control the skis enough to make them go. But once you get those skis up to speed, you go, oh, that's how you do it. This is cool. And I think that's what's happening a little with David.
Well, I think he's learning on the job, too. Remember, very limited experience in any other series. Came right into Cup. And so I think he's been learning on the job. What do you think, Jeff?
And Darrell, one thing else, let's add to that equation. A veteran crew chief and Jimmy Finnick. I think that's something that some people don't really consider, but he's a great teacher. Tonight, Larry's already talked about some of the concerns of guys having their car get too tight in the center and being loose off. Jimmy was on top of that today when I talked to him earlier about how he was going to have his car set up. And I think he's really a good asset for this young man, giving him a solid ride week in and week out.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, when you're a young driver, sometimes you just try to overdo it. And you have to learn that these are long races. Back it down. Don't give 110%. Give me about 90, and when it's time, give me 100.
And Mike, you pointed out to us in a meeting, remember the shoes that David Reagan was trying to fill. Mark Martin had been the driver driving that 6 car since like 1988, 89. That was some big shoes to fill.
To step in where Mark Martin had really made his mark for Jack Roush. And that 6 car, that's dear to Jack's heart. I mean, the number on Jack's airplane is N6JR. So, I mean, that 6 is his whole NASCAR career up until Roush, now Roush Fenway Racing, blossomed to a 5-car team.
Yeah, that's the company car.
Right. Jimmy Johnson coming up on IRL champ and Indy 500 winner Sam Hornish. We'll go one lap down along with Bill Elliott and Joe Nemechek.
The Subway Fresh Fit 500 on Fox is sponsored by State Farm, where great coverage meets great rates. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. By FedEx, every day is race day. By Napa Auto Parts, Napa, get the good stuff. And by Ford, drive one.
83 laps complete in Phoenix. Jimmy Johnson has led 46 of those. Ryan Newman has led the other 37. Johnson out front. Newman has faded to match his car number, 12th place. Matt Kenseth has returned to the racetrack after 40 laps, making repairs to the right front suspension in the garage area.
So, of course, what he's hoping is that attrition will set into some of the other competitors and he'll move up. But what I fear for him, Darrell, you talked about this car being so durable. We're having a lot of cars finish races each week.
41 cars finished this race last year, and this car has proven to be almost indestructible, except if you're Michael McDowell.
Mark Martin making the move on Casey Kane. Steve Casey's backing up a little bit. He's going to fall to 9th place here.
Sure is, and his comment is, I am just way too loose. Kenny Francis, the crew chief, said, hang in there.
And I think that's one reason we're seeing Casey Kane in the 9 that we're riding with. He's running the high line. He can't turn the steering wheel right now.
Yeah, when your car is doing, if it's pushing real bad or if it's real loose, move up, run a bigger circle. You don't have to turn the wheel so much.
Well, the phrase we've not yet used today is comers and goers, and we're going to see a lot in this race. Drivers who get fresh tires, hit the setup, and move forward. Drivers whose cars kind of fall off the edge of that razor blade and back up.
17's on fresh tires, just came out of the pit.
You see Casey in the car there, and he's pretty busy. When you see the driver juking the wheel around quite a bit, that usually means the car's a little free and it's not real comfortable. You can't turn the wheel a lot, so you're always kind of playing with it, nibbling on it.
If you look right here, he's 9 seconds behind leader Jimmy Johnson. As you could tell, that's about the length of the front straightaway. That's about how long it takes to go down this front stretch.
When a car is running, when it's handling right, the hands hardly ever go back to the right. You're always kind of leaning to the left. When a car's not handling right, you're always juking it just a little bit back to the right.
Here's the distance from Casey Kane in 9th place to the lead. There's Jimmy Johnson in traffic, and Carl Edwards getting pretty close as things close up. There's Edwards on the inside, clearing the lapped car.
I think Jimmy's car, he likes to run the bottom. He's committed to the bottom. Carl looks like he's willing to move around a little bit more. Jimmy's in traffic. It's allowed Carl to really get up behind him.
Put a lap on Regan Smith in the 0-1.
But see how Jimmy, when you're committed to the bottom, a guy on the outside can hold you up forever because you're not able to come up off the corner and use the whole racetrack. And there's that spotter thing again, Larry. He's really cleared up on that car, but he couldn't. I don't think the spotter was telling him.
You're on your own a lot here as a driver out there. You know, there's been a lot of talk why cars like Regan Smith in the 01 would race the leader so hard. Well, one is you're trying to stay on the lead lap, but once he goes by you, you're trying to be that first car 1 lap down to get the free pass back on the lead lap should the caution come out.
That's a race in itself. A lot of times you get 2 or 3 guys a lap down and they're racing each other trying to get that free pass.
Well, your best friend out on that racetrack is that spotter, and you see the sweets to the right. That's where they are at the highest point on the racetrack. Matt?
Mike, polling those spotters will tell you this is probably the most difficult place for them to work because the vision, not because of the sun, but as the cars go down in turns 3 and 4, they lose their cars due to the campers. So they tell their drivers, I'm going to try to clear you if I can, but you're going to have to help me out. And that's what we're hearing on the radio of a number of drivers from their spotters tonight.
Thanks, Matt. Paul Menard had a great week last week. Stayed on the lead lap outside all day. Not so tonight. He's going to fall to Jimmy Johnson here.
I think the track, we get a look at the track temps here, Larry, and you can see it's about to balance out now. 92 in the shade, 88 down in turns 3 and 4. The track's starting to balance out now.
Yeah, we only have one part of the racetrack that really has sunlight. It's right in the middle of turn 3 and 4. So I think it's went through that one big transition. The other transition, you can see right here, the only part that really has sunlight is right there in the middle of 3 and 4. So it's went through one major transition. The other major transition will come when it gets completely nighttime and dark. It'll really do a cool down then.
See, that's what I was talking about, 3 straightaways. You got the long front straightaway. Then you got a little straightaway right here off of turn 2. And then you got a little straightaway right here down into turn 3. So you really got like 3 straightaways with that little bump out in the back.
You know, Mike, you were talking about comers and goers. Looks like to me, just looking quickly, the biggest comer, we talked about him, David Reagan from 23rd to 6th. The biggest loser, Scott Riggs, from 10th to 23rd.
Jimmy Johnson, your leader, at 93 laps in Phoenix. Jimmy Johnson, as we cross 100 laps, has seen his lead pretty much disappear. Carl Edwards is right there, 3.5 seconds up on Dale Earnhardt Jr. Biggest mover in this race has been our points leader, Jeff Burton. He has climbed to 20th place. J.J. Yaley started last after an engine change. He's picked up 16. And Johnny Sauter, the one race replacement at least for Jeremy Mayfield, has gained 16 positions.
I think Burton's okay now. The sun's gone down. It's not bothering him. Plus, I think he likes to mess with us. Because, well, we'll say, oh, he's in trouble. He's not going to be very good today. And next thing you know, he's lurking up there toward the top 10.
Right behind the number on the 96 is the Arizona Diamondbacks logo. Thanks to the team for hosting Fox Sports last night at the game as we watched the D-backs whip up on the Colorado Rockies.
It's my understanding that's their 10th anniversary decal for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And, of course, the owners, Jeff Mort and Tom Garfinkel, executives with the Arizona Diamondbacks. So this is really a home version for this whole race team because J.J. Yaley, as you saw, he's from Phoenix as well.
They won last night, right?
Right. And
they won again this afternoon, yeah.
And Wednesday, J.J. drove his car to the mound to throw out the first pitch, drove his race car.
This 99, he keeps reeling in Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car, but we are within about a 10 to 15 lap window of what will be green flag pit stops. Everyone was on pit road last at lap 42. The fuel window here for Sunoco Fuel is about 70 to 80 laps.
I just kind of watch Carl, and I almost think he's just kind of staying behind Jimmy on purpose.
But I'm sure he'd love to get 5 points for leading the lap because right now Jimmy Johnson, Ryan Newman, the only 2 guys that has led a lap tonight.
Oh, I think he'll get his 5.
Mark Martin has passed his teammate Martin Truex and moves up into 7th spot. And Jeff Gordon soldiering along in 17th, Steve.
And Mike Joy, he is not happy. He says the right rear shock is absolutely killing us. When they stop, they're going to add a spring rubber in the right rear spring.
Last week, Jeff Gordon said, I've never been so lost since I was a rookie. And they were out to lunch last week. Wreck finished 43rd. Doesn't look like they've helped themselves a whole lot tonight.
And if that right rear corner of that race car is not propped up, it can make it do both things. It can make the car not turn because it picks the left front up, and it can also make the car loose. So they're just trying to get that right rear propped up a little bit with that spring rubber.
So the task for all of these top 30 drivers right now is just stay on that lead lap and hope the track comes to them as the sun goes down. There they are, side by side for the lead, looking from Michael Waltrip's onboard camera. And Jimmy Johnson was able to use Michael as a pick and hold the lead from Carl Edwards. But Edwards was right alongside. He kicked Johnson up to the high side, Darrell, and it didn't look like Jimmy's car liked the top of the racetrack at all.
No, it didn't. And I tell you, you were talking about 5 bonus points. I think Carl sees the opportunity now. I got this cat right here, and I'm kind of better than he is. I'd like to get in front of him even before we make the pit stop.
And I'd say what he'll do if the 48 comes to pit road, Carl will probably run an extra lap, or it actually looks like the 99's coming to pit road now. Again, this is scheduled green flag stops. We've been about 70 laps since they were last on pit road.
But now that's almost Formula One racing. He's running his best laps on his in lap. Now he comes out with fresh tires. He runs his best laps on his out laps, Matt.
And Robbie Reiser on top of the box, filling in on the 99. Now, Carl Edwards said his car generally was a little bit tight on that run. The best part about it was his front rotors were not glowing compared to a lot of other cars entering down in turns 1 where they were definitely glowing. He's away. Good stop. 13.5. Greg Biffle also in. Biffle said his car had ticked tight, but he wanted no changes on that 16 car.
Joe Nemechek in the wall in turn 1.
I think there might be oil or something down there, Mike. I saw a couple of cars go up the hill.
remember what I said about not making mistakes in this short race? The 99 car, they had a mistake. The pit crew cannot go over the wall until the car is 1 pit away, so they are going to be penalized. But this could be a break for them because it was going to be a pass-through penalty for that group. Now I think it'll be the tail end of the longest line since the caution came out.
The caution is for Nemechek, but you're right, Darrell. There was a lot of smoke and brake lockup down in turn 1 before Joe got there.
Yeah, I saw the smoke before from someone else, and Joe came in and looked like he just took off up there like there was debris or oil in the first turn.
Nemechek has taken that car to the garage. It's white and orange. Watch what happens.
Jamie McMurray first. He gets in there, and then here comes Joe. And look, there must have been something on the racetrack, or Joe saw that 78 had a or the 26 had a problem, and it distracted him, and he overdrove the corner.
Yeah, because there was a ton of brake smoke coming out of that 78 car trying to get stopped.
Something odd happened there.
Now, we had several cars that made green flag stops. Most notable, Carl Edwards in the 99 car that we just talked about. Martin Truex Jr. in the 1 car was another car at the front of the pack. Right now, pit road is closed that had just come to pit road when the caution came out. Martin Truex.
I wonder why pit road was closed. I don't see. Anyway, it's closed.
Casey Mears will get the free pass and get back on the lead lap. And today's FedEx Racetrack's question is just that. Tim in Tacoma wants to know, after a caution, how do you decide who gets back on the lead lap or gets one of their laps back under caution? Who gets the free pass?
It's the first car a lap down.
Yeah, I mean, that's how they do it. And it's you can be anywhere in the field, but when you're the first car 1 lap down, you're the beneficiary.
And if there's no cars 1 lap down, it'll be the first car 2 laps down. First car in the running order, not on the lead lap at the moment of caution, unless that car is involved in the caution.
I think you'll see Denny Hamlin, now that we're just about getting close to darkness, he's going to reach up there and pull part of his sun visor off, it looks like.
Yeah, that's why you put it on from the inside, really. So when the driver gets ready to get rid of it, he can.
Now pit road will be open this time, and here comes all the leaders that did not make a green flag stop.
Dick Berggren.
And Mark Martin will pit out of the 4th position. He had trouble last time, not on the pit stop, but getting down pit road. Cost him multiple positions. He's got a good car. They're going to try to put some bite in it. It's the driver that decided what changes to make. Matt.
When they were talking about pitting under green, Jimmy Johnson was waving off, making an adjustment, but now at the end of that run, they made a track bar adjustment. A little too tight in the center of the corner, Steve.
Matt, Casey Kane, loose in, loose off, no rear grip, down. 2 rounds on the track bar. Krista.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. pretty happy with his car. He said he's happy in 3 and 4, needs a little bit of help in 1, 2, neutral overall. Denny Hamlin also in for a 4-tire change.
Listener Ryan Newman getting service as well. So the caution is a break for Carl Edwards. He will not have to do a pass through under green. He'll just start the tail end of the longest line.
The Subway Fresh Fit 500 on Fox is sponsored by Hanes. Look who we've got our Hanes on now. By Gillette, feel phenomenal with Gillette Fusion Power Phenom, the only razor used by the Gillette Young Guns. By Pennzoil, feel the clean. And by the new AT&T, your world delivered. Jeff Hamm and Chris Myers from the Hollywood Hotel. Time for an AT&T race break. Jimmy Johnson has dominated this race, 80-plus laps. Ryan Newman also in the hunt, and the pit stop moments ago from Carl Edwards a lap down.
Yeah, he came in during that green flag situation, but you take a look, the right front tire changer was across the wall before they were only 1 pit away. The rule is 1 pit away, you can leave. You can see him being circled there. That's Corey Quick. Got away from the wall too quick. He now has been penalized because of that situation right there. NASCAR will not allow you to do that. So now he's 1 lap down. That's because of the green flag stop. But now he's been penalized to the tail end of the longest line, which is really going to make it hard for him to get that lap back. So they've got a lot of work cut out for that 99 car if they expect to get back, number 1, on the lead lap or have a chance to win this race.
3 wins already for Edwards. So one of the favorites in this race, Jeff Gordon, trying to get into the victory column. Also a lap down. Guys that'll be fighting to get back on that lead lap could create some problems.
Oh, it could create some problems because there's a lot of good cars that are one lap down. You know, Greg Biffle's one of them, along with, like you say, Jeff Gordon. So they got a lot of good cars out there that are kind of like in the mix here. They're going to be running hard trying to get that lap back.
Greg Biffle did get back on the lead lap. The top 4 car numbers picked by our viewers to win today's race. Watch our pre-race coverage each week to play our AT&T race break. We thank you for watching NASCAR on Fox. Let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Thanks, Chris. 26 cars will restart on the lead lap. Everyone who made a green flag pit stop before the caution for Joe Nemechek is a lap down.
Now, Jeff Gordon was one of those cars. Now, we made a note that Martin Truex Jr. pitted under green, but he was on pit road when the caution came out. Heads up by Kevin Mannion and their spotter. He drove through, so he stayed on the lead lap. You can't make a green flag stop here and change 4 tires, even if you're leading the race without going a lap down. That was a heads-up move that kept him on the lead lap, though.
Getting ready to restart with 121 laps complete. Jimmy Johnson has led 83 of them. Johnson and pole sitter Ryan Newman are the only leaders so far.
Boy, this is one of those times when I'm confused, the fans are confused. I mean, Jimmy Johnson is the leader, and we got cars all on the tail end of the lead lap. This is one rule I wish they'd make, Mike. They do it in other kinds of racing, where they'd send those cars on the tail end of the lead lap around to the rear of the field and get them out of the way.
Those cars are Greg Biffle, Juan Montoya, David Rudiman, Jamie McMurray, David Gilliland, Bobby Labonte, and Brian Vickers. They are on the tail end of the lead lap, and so they restart in front of Jimmy Johnson.
We just put the leader of the race in harm's way.
Right.
With all these guys trying to stay in front of him, so if the caution comes out, they can get back up, get to the tail end of the lead lap. I say let them go around and be at the end of the
In series like the Indy Racing League, they wave them around. They give them a go around to the tail end of the lead lap in the same sequence, so that the race leader restarts in front. NASCAR feels to do so, Darrell, would give those cars quite an advantage and change race strategy. They don't do it that way.
Yeah, they were 1 lap down, and then when the leaders came to pit road, that's how they got back on the lead lap right there, but at the tail end of the lead lap.
Boy, we got a heck of a battle over there on the back straightaway. Look at that 88
That's a battle
car.
for the lead right there with Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the outside of his teammate.
Teammates going at it right here. Tough sledding, too, with all that traffic around them.
Yeah, because that traffic, like Brian Vickers just ahead, they're all trying to stay on the lead lap and hope for another caution, which would allow them to drive around because then the pace car would pick up the leader.
Junior just gave a little bump to the 83 car and said, dude, get out of my way. I'm trying to lead this thing.
But Dale Earnhardt Jr., he did get 5 points for leading that lap. All you have to do is lead a lap, and you get 5 bonus points. I think you can hear the Junior Nation in the background that he's taking the lead.
They're just warming up their voices for Talladega in 2 weeks on Fox. That's where Junior Nation.
Junior!
Which will be his 300th career start at Talladega in 2 weeks.
The difference is that this year, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is Jimmy Johnson's teammate at Hendrick Motorsports.
Am I leading the lap here? You're all good, Derek. You want to do whatever you need to do.
And he just wanted to confirm that he did lead that lap a while ago when they were pretty much side by side. That's all he wanted to do, I think, is get that 5 bonus points.
And then Jimmy Johnson will come right back after him. That's Dario Franchitti in the 40, the yellow car. And David Gilliland, and boy, Junior, can he thread that needle? No.
I mean, it's just hard to run 3 wide there because of the 2 straightaways Darrell was talking about.
Well, the track just closes in on you right there. You kind of bottleneck as you come off that corner. It's inviting, but you can't do it.
Jimmy gave Junior a lot of room to pick a lane, and when Junior stayed high in the 88, the 48 dove low. But they've got to get through this traffic.
It's a fun track to drive until you find yourself in a situation with all these cars in the way, and then it's really difficult because it takes away all your passing opportunities.
Speaking of situations, look at the battle for second. The 8 car that Dale Earnhardt Jr. drove his entire career. Mark Martin up there battling for second side by side.
Martin's not going to give Junior anything. They are no longer teammates.
Mark Martin wants to win a race, and he wants to win a race bad.
Oh, he won a race already this year in the Nationwide Series.
He did.
Driving for Dale Jr.
Yeah, that's his owner he's racing right there.
Look at those rotors in there glowing red. You think he's not on it? Driving that thing off in the corner.
The radio chatter on this 8 car this year is interesting because Martin splits this ride with young Eric Almirola. They call Almirola Kid, and they call Mark Old Man. on the radio.
Crazy old man.
Well, that too. Sometimes.
Now, this is a battle for 6 right here with Clint Boyer in the 07, Denny Hamlin in the 11. Now, Clint Boyer has been a good mover because he started in 24th, and here he's battling, trying to get up to the top 5.
And you still have 5 lead lap cars in front of Jimmy Johnson trying to hang on to the tail end of that lead lap. Matt?
Back on lap 34, Mike, Clint Boyer reported in that his brakes were already starting to vibrate. About 25 laps ago, Mike Dillon told him you need to start backing up your corner because your rotors are probably glowing more than anyone else. So he was letting out of the gas earlier on corner entry.
This car entices you to do that. This car, you drive it down there, and if you don't get it slowed down, it won't turn. So you got to use a lot of brake to get it wound up so it'll make the turn.
And you enter these corners so fast, and you don't have a real low gear that slows you down with the acceleration.
Get off them brakes, no pressure.
That's Mike Dillon, his spotter, which is Richard Childress, his son-in-law.
And how it's easy to make your brakes last. Just don't use them.
Only use what you need and then get off.
Right, that's right.
Rookie Regan Smith has made an unscheduled pit stop. Only one car in the garage. That's Joe Nemechek, who hit the wall at lap 115 to bring out the 3rd caution of the night. Matt Kenseth spent 40 laps in the garage, came back on the racetrack. So 42 cars running, 24 of those on the lead lap, like the 43 of Bobby Labonte, trying to stay on that lead lap, and Jimmy Johnson in the 48 trying to put Labonte a lap down.
These cars are funny. I look at Matt's car. They went in. They beat the side out a little bit, put another splitter on it. He's back out racing.
Oh, the pole sitter, Ryan Newman.
Oil on the,
we got oil on the racetrack.
We
got all kinds of cars spinning out.
Cars wrecking everywhere.
Sit down. Nice save, bud. Let it roll.
I think the 31's all right. I don't think he hit anything.
I don't believe
but there's
so,
some other cars that are not so lucky. We got one on fire back up in there, y'all. Big fire.
Power steering fluid. Power steering fluid.
There you see Matt Kenseth, Reed Sorensen.
Matt's in another wreck. Boy, there was a big fire.
Dave Blaney's car is still at the top of the racetrack.
Well, and I think there's fire under that 12 car still.
Ryan Newman won the Daytona 500. Had only led 3 laps since, but he led the first 30 laps of this race. And J.J. Yaley, who is from Phoenix, high hopes for tonight, has gotten all caught up in this one.
Now that did let some of those guys get back on the lead lap that was still out in front of Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car.
It all starts with Ryan Newman's number 12.
Now, I heard him say power steering fluid, and you know, we've seen a couple of incidences here recently of power steering pumps or boxes failing. That may be what happened to Ryan's car.
This is riding with our points leader, Jeff Burton, in the 31 car.
Sliding away.
They're saying it's a line that's on the to the box itself.
Boy, Casey Mears went by on the grass. Here's what Tony Stewart saw. Now watch the 96 Yaley. Oh, that's where he gets the wall.
Yep.
And then he gets Johnny Sauter.
And Tony Stewart, who we're riding with, he just stopped. Best thing to do.
You'll see the 5 come down through the grass here, perhaps.
Burton is the lucky one. I mean, he's a.
Carl Edwards scoots through on the bottom. And here's what just happened to Newman coming onto pit road.
Yeah, there's fire up. I can see fire. It's been smoldering under there for about a lap. My goodness. Obviously, there's fluid still coming out somewhere.
But you're right, Mike. I mean, they won the Daytona 500 back in February. They finally got another top 5 at Texas last week, but then had a post-race infraction with the height of the right rear quarter panel. We talked about Johnny Sauter a while ago in the 70 car. Always has run good here. He's going to have to go to the garage area. Remember, that's a car that came in here out of the top 35 in owner points.
Nothing Sauter could do. He had it missed on the low side. J.J. Yaley got squeezed into the outside wall, caromed off, and hit Sauter.
12 car going behind the wall, I guess, here to work on this thing.
Get Jack and a jack there, please. Roll, Ryan.
Boy, there's all the oil. That power steering fluid is treacherous.
Now, Bobby Labonte had just been lapped by Jimmy Johnson at the moment of caution, so Labonte will get the free pass. Fourth caution of the night in Phoenix.
Oh, barbecue digger.
We started in bright sunshine, and then boom, boom, out went the lights. You see our aerial coverage provided to you by Goodyear for track-tested technology. Get there on Goodyear innovation. This track brightly lit for night racing, and the whole complexion of this race changes as we go through sundown and dusk, and now the track cools off, and everything cools off because we have a red flag to clean up from Ryan Newman and the problems up in turn number 4. Darrell's got an itchy trigger finger on that two-way radio. Who are you going to dial up?
I'm going to see if I can get a hold of Kyle Busch here. Kyle Busch, it's a DW up in Fox booth. You got a copy, buddy?
Yes, sir. What's up, DW?
Well, my man, your 30th place car has come around, looks like. What kind of shape you in?
It's better, definitely. It's just, real frustrating out here trying to drive stuff that drives this way. These guys work so hard and put so much effort into these things, and they're just not quite race cars that drive the way you'd like them to. But we're working with it. We're trying the best we can. I'm sweating my butt off out here, but all in all, we got a 5th place effort right now going for the Snickers Toyota, so we'll see if we can't keep it up here.
Did you learn anything last night? I mean, you were awesome last night, but you were a little loose off then, and you seem like you may have fixed that car. How about tonight? Can you fix this thing?
Made a big swing at it that last time, got it a lot better. We made a bunch of adjustments to try to tighten it up off, and luckily we didn't tighten it up in the center much. We did fix our off somewhat, but not all the way, so we've got a little bit more ground to make up a little right now. But, last night was a good car too. We just had to run the top side when it was too loose, and here tonight, learning that, I went to the top and was trying to run up there, and it made the car feel better or act better, but, those guys were still quicker than us and just had to let them go.
Well, if anybody can hang on to it, brother, you can. So I'm wishing you good luck, and hang in there and keep working on it.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Kyle Busch led 133 of 202 laps in winning the Bash's 200 last night. They're still cleaning up in turn number 4, so let's go outside turn 2 and get an AT&T race break.
From the Hollywood Hotel with Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers, and a quick recap of where we are. And our own Larry McReynolds got to wave the flag and get the drivers going. And they were roaring in the daylight before it got dark. Jimmy Johnson moving in front of Ryan Newman. Johnson has led 95 laps. Newman 37. Dale Earnhardt Jr. with 3 laps led so far. Matt Kenseth into the wall and then talking about it.
That's what happens when we don't do our job, sir.
Kenseth into the garage, came back after sitting for 40 laps. Meanwhile, just moments ago, Kenseth caught up in this. Power steering problems. There's Jeff Burton, your points leader, coming into this, the 8th race of the year. Reed Sorensen involved. Also Johnny Sauter, J.J. Yaley, and Newman having trouble just getting back to the pits with smoke and excitement. And Jeff Hammond, red flag at night. Driver's delight, red flag right here, a problem for us as the traffic has stopped with Johnson, your leader, followed by Dale Earnhardt Jr., Mark Martin, Casey Kane, and then Kyle Busch, whom we heard from moments ago. Let's go back to the power steering issue.
Yeah, well, I've seen that quite a bit this year. I mean, that's kind of surprising. Joe Gibbs has had 2 power steering problems so far this year. And on top of that, when you see a guy like Ryan Newman who's going along through there, all of a sudden you get yourself in trouble. But you can see the reservoir, that little silver can there right beside the front and brake reservoirs. That's where the power steering fluid is. Quite a bit of it. It runs down the length of that down bar, we call roll bar, all the way down to the power steering pump or the box. And it looks to me the way it sprayed fluid all over the inside of the race car, caught the fire. I got to believe that has to be, a problem right there as far as that line, the power steering line, the pressure line is what come off. sprayed all over the racetrack. And again, when this stuff gets out there, it is very, very slick. I think it's slicker than what oil is. So that's the reason why you saw so many cars spin around and the fire subsequently on the 12 car.
And so right now they're putting something on the track, a drying agent, so that we can get back to racing.
Get back to racing. And I think it's a good move by NASCAR because they realized all of a sudden it is all the way around the racetrack. This stuff is under high pressure. So I mean, he basically emptied the reservoir can all the way around the racetrack. And other cars, when they piled in, probably did damage to their oil coolers or radiators. Again, a lot of fluid on the racetrack, so NASCAR deemed necessary. Stop the race, get it cleaned up so we can go back and have some great racing.
Given where we are, 177 laps to go, does this help anybody out, this red flag at this point, any particular crew?
Well, I think anybody that's got problems has got an opportunity right now to kind of like call a timeout, much like a lot of other types of sports. You can call timeout and get a chance to talk to basically the head coach. Crew chiefs, spotters, engineers, now they can start thinking about, what do you want me to do this race car? If you're terrible, let's throw something at it like Kyle Busch was talking about. We made a big swing at it. They got their car a lot better. So some of these other teams may elect to do the same thing, may make theirs better. But what you got to be worried about is overthinking the situation and maybe getting your car going the wrong way when you're running up front.
Yeah, Kyle Busch said he had a 30th place car at one point. He is up to 5th currently. And if you want an exclusive look inside the world of Richard Childress Racing, Jeff Burton on the 31 Chevrolet, and he did a pretty good job of surviving a real mess in that recent wreck. Thanks to AT&T, you can, using cellular video on your AT&T handset, you can access all the inside RCR content. We are under a red flag currently, 135 laps in, and let's get a check-in on pit road. And Mike, let's begin our pit watch with Dick Bergman.
I'm in Mark Martin's pit right now, and the 49-year-old driver from Arkansas is having a big night. Right now he is running in the 3rd position, and the crew keeps radioing his times to Mark, and many of those times are among the fastest laps of anybody. They have not yet decided if they're going to pit. It looks like it's going to be monkey see, monkey do, Steve Burns.
And Dick, Casey Kane in the 9 car has gotten better. He said his car is pretty decent. Feels like it's rolling over on the right just a little bit. Don't think they're going to pit. He and Kenny Francis have been talking about it, Krista.
Dale Earnhart Jr. says right now he's having a little bit of trouble keeping the right rear of the car down. But he said, and I quote, "Oh man, it's not that big of a deal." Junior did say that he just wants to make sure he matches his car. In other words, if he has a good car, which he does tonight, he wants that good finish. Matt?
Christopher leader Jimmy Johnson tried to make it 3 straight Phoenix wins for owner Rick Hendrick. One issue that they were dealing with right before the red flag, Jimmy was telling Chad Knaus' crew chief that the water temperature had climbed to almost 290 degrees. They don't feel that that's going to be an issue at this juncture. He was back in traffic, but Jimmy wants to back up the adjustments they made last time on pit road because they fixed one issue, but they hurt the car in another. And his car was very good on the bottom. When he tried to go up top one time, he started to lose a little bit of time, Mike Joy.
Thank you, Matt. The red flag has been withdrawn. We're now back under yellow. The field begins to move off turn number 2 because cleanup operation has been completed at turn number 4, where most of the dust up was from Ryan Newman and the cars that spun afterward. Looks like at least 4 cars are going to get back on the lead lap that were running in front of the leader. Montoya, Rudeman, McMurray, see how Reed Soren and Greg Biffle would be the other one. Pit road is going to remain closed for at least a lap or 2 as they finish cleanup. A good time for this week's State Farm Safety Report.
Well, would you ever think about conditioning being a part of safety when it comes to racing? Well, it is. A lot of these drivers train extremely hard, from riding bicycles, lifting weights, to be prepared for when the conditions get hot, just like they are tonight. Cockpit temperatures in excess of 100 degrees, you've got to be prepared. Being properly hydrated is very important. But when you're not quite ready, we do have the onboard air conditioner. That's right, a cool box that takes air from the outside, cools it down, pumps it into the top of the helmet to keep these guys cool so they can handle the pressures of racing.
Thanks, Jeff. For more safety info, log on to foxsports.com. You know what your mom said? Out in the wintertime, keep from getting cold, put a hat on your head. Same thing applies to getting cool.
Oh yeah, that's that's probably about the greatest thing from a driver's comfort standpoint that they've ever come up with. And it actually has a computer chip in it. And it takes hot air from the outside and turns it into cool air, similar to an air conditioner.
Now, the way the rules work when a red flag is displayed, you've got J.J. Yaley, the 96 car in the garage area. That team's wanting to make repairs. You've got Ryan Newman, the 12 car with the power steering problem behind the wall. When the red flag is displayed, all work has to cease on those race cars. You can make a plan, but you can't physically do work on the car until they put the yellow flag out. You can see now they are diligently working on the 12 car. You see Reed Sorensen that was involved, that right now is actually showing still on the lead lap. They're trying to get that left front fender to where it'll clear.
I think that shows how tough this car is, though. I mean, that's a baseball bat probably they've got up in there, and they can't get that shoved out.
Trying to gain a bit of clearance between the fender and the tire there. Pit road will be open this time around.
It's only been about 16 laps since all those cars were on pit road, but based on what we learned last night, based on what we saw earlier, I'll be willing to bet that pit road will probably end up being a fairly busy place. Looked like we had a little cat and mouse. Jimmy Johnson stayed out, but Dale Earnhardt Jr. came in. In fact, I think we're seeing most of the guys come to pit road.
Doesn't surprise me. Junior came in. He did that earlier, Larry, and that paid off for him.
Mark Martin stayed out. So did Casey Kane. So kind of a 50-50 here as far as who pits and who does not. Remember, there were cars that pitted under green just prior to a caution a bit ago. So Tony Stewart, another who stayed out. Dick?
Well, Kyle Busch is out, but we're not too sure why Mark Martin didn't pit. There apparently was a bit of a mix-up. They told him to watch the commitment line, which I guess they thought was all he needed to hear about pitting, but Mark Martin stayed on the racetrack.
I just think, based on what I have witnessed here, coming to pit road for 4 tires, even after 16 laps, was the right way to go.
I guarantee you, and I think Mark probably just did whatever the 48 did in that case.
Krista.
Tony Stewart also coming in. He said he needs to go forward better. Tony said, I can fix the entry. Zippy, his crew chief Greg Zipadelli, if you can help me center and exit.
There'll be a penalty call on Reed Sorensen, removing equipment out of the pit box. Will bring him back onto pit road.
Yeah, his car's pretty damaged. They're just trying to get it where he can keep going, but they're going to have to stop and work on that thing a bit. Reed Sorensen in the 41.
Fox Sports takes you out to the ball game, and again, thanks to the Arizona Diamondbacks who took us out to the ball game last night. Nothing like a hot dog at the ballpark, unless of course you're in Martinsville. Now next week, Fox Saturday Baseball continues. There's a look at Chase Field. We had a grand old time at the ball game.
Did you sing?
No.
Oh heck.
Well, we sang along with the 31,000 other folks who were there at the 7th inning stretch.
And we see Carl Edwards in the 99 car. Remember, he is still a lap down, and the way the pit sequence works, if you're 1 or more laps down, you can't pit the first time. You have to pit the second time. We're getting a report that they only put 2 right side tires, new tires on the right side of that 99.
Nice crowd on hand here at Phoenix International Raceway. So Jimmy Johnson leads this race. And here at Phoenix, Johnson has the best average finish of all active drivers, an average of 6.5, which is pretty sporty. The best all-time average finish here, Alan Kulwicki, who won the first Winston Cup race held at this track 20 years ago. Average finish of 5.2. Kulwicki won the race and then did something remarkable. Turned his car around, drove the wrong way around the track so that his driver's window down, he could wave to the fans his self-described Polish victory lap. And then went on to win the series championship in '92. He was the first Cup winner here 20 years ago this fall.
The track has a little bit of a Milwaukee characteristics to it, where Allen had a lot of success.
Ready to go green with our Claret and Clear to Drive restart. Get Claret and Clear, get back to feeling like yourself again. The first 4 drivers stayed out and did not pit as we go back to green for lap 141.
You're right, Mike. Jimmy Johnson, Mark Martin, Casey Kane, Greg Biffle stayed out. 16 laps on their tires. The 2 cars behind them, Clint Boyer in the 07 and Elliott Sadler in the 19, 2 fresh right side tires. Then Dale Earnhardt Jr., the 88, the first car there with 4 tires.
Boy, Sam Hornish is causing a bit of a roadblock, but they've all worked through it. He got 3 wide over there going off of turn 2, but they straightened it out, and they're
Just didn't get a good jump
No,
there.
the car didn't go at all, and really got him in trouble.
Martin wanted the lead, but he could not kick Jimmy Johnson up to the high side to get it.
I tell you one thing, they better both get going, because that 88 car got those 4 tires, and he is coming, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, he restarted in 7th. In about 4 laps, he's made his way to 3rd right now in the 88 car. We're riding with him.
He looks like he's got 100 more horsepower.
Well, he's got a good handling car. Plus, now he has those 4 fresh Goodyear tires.
He's driving a really good race tonight. He's making good moves. That tells you the car is really comfortable for him, because he can put it anywhere he wants to.
There you see him on the restart that happened about 5 laps ago. Again, he started behind Elliott Sadler. He's going to get him and Clint Boyer before they even get to the end of the back straightaway.
And there's the Hornish roadblock I was talking about, which really played into Junior's hands.
Junior restarted 7th. He's now running 3rd.
But you know, we've been talking about it's been almost 2 years since Dale Earnhardt Jr. was in victory lane. Of course, that was in the 8 car at Richmond, Virginia. But how about Mark Martin up there battling for the lead? It has been 2.5 years. Kansas in the fall of '05 since he's been to victory lane.
Well, Mark, I think he'll tell you, what was it, 3 or 4 years ago here, had this race won, dominated this race, had a problem in the pits and ended up in a wreck late in the race. But I think he feels like this joint owes him one.
Dick Berggren.
Well, Kyle Busch may have a problem. The fuel gauge is fluttering around. I've talked with Wesley Sherrill. He's the car chief. He's the guy that knows more about the mechanical workings of this car than anybody else. He told me it is a new gauge. However, Busch is also well back in the serial order. They lost time pulling a spring rubber on the last pit stop,
which will try to give that car a little bit more bite. Take that rubber out and soften that spring up and let it get a little better bite up off the corner where he seems to have a problem.
So he's the 12th place car right now.
Talking about Mark Martin, he has 1 win here, but he has 5 second place finishes here. Got a car in the wall, turn 4.
Well, Reed Sorensen's bad night continues.
Looking at the left front tire, I would be willing to bet that that is from the damage from the last wreck, and it's cut that left front tire down.
And Juan Montoya has spun to the infield in the back straightaway.
Yeah, I saw smoke off of turn 2 and couldn't see who it was. He's down next to the inside wall.
Did he get together perhaps with his teammate, Dario Franchitti?
Surely wasn't Dario.
Oh,
there's the 41.
That's the left front tire was down on that car.
Now watch Montoya's big red number 42.
I think that Juan may have got a little help on that one.
He and Robbie Gordon had been close quarter racing for the past 140 laps here.
Yeah, they're kind of two of a kind. They just speak different languages.
Now, this is not the caution that Jimmy Johnson, Mark Martin, Casey Kane that they wanted to see.
Now, this was a lap before the caution. Watch that 42 and the 7 of Robbie Gordon. Yes.
See, you hit me once, might have to hit you twice.
There's Robbie.
Now,
as mentioned, here are those cars. They have to come pit road. They did not want to see that caution, Dick Berggren.
No, they didn't, but here's Mark Martin in his pit, and this was a long time deciding whether to pit or not. To Matt.
Dick, there was a little debate between Chad Knaus and Jimmy whether to stay out or pit. They decided to pit. Mike Knauer already backing up the chassis adjustment they made on their previous stop. Steve?
Matt, sides adjustment and a track bar adjustment for Casey Kane. He says he feels like that car is rolled over on the right side. They've also made air pressure adjustments.
Thanks, fellas. The free pass to Jeff Gordon. So he'll be back on the lead lap. And when we restart, we'll have 21 lead lap cars.
The Subway Fresh Fit 500 on Fox is sponsored by Subway, where Tony Stewart goes to fuel up. Subway, race hard, eat fresh.
Getting set for the restart. It'll come at lap 153. Dale Earnhardt Jr., who had not led here at Phoenix since his win back in 04. He is the leader of this race. Brian Vickers will be trying to get one back from him. So will Carl Edwards on the inside line. But Greg Biffle, who was one of those cars in front of the leader a caution ago, in danger of going a lap down. Caution came out. He stayed on the lead lap, stayed out. He's second place now.
Yeah, but he's on some pretty old tires right now, and there's a lot of fresh tires in front of him and behind him.
Well, I tell you what, I looked at Dale Jr.'s eyes in that photo, in that shot we just had. That's a man on a mission.
The key for Earnhardt will be, unlike last week, can they maintain how good that car has been so far all the way to the checkered flag?
I think they can tonight because this car has been good from the get-go. After that first pit stop, when he pitted early, they made an adjustment. He's been good ever since.
Here's a Claret and Clear to drive restart. The Claret and Clear indoors and out.
Now our top three before that caution right now, Mark Martin, Jimmy Johnson, Casey Kane, they will restart 13th, 14th, and 15th as we're getting really close to the halfway point of this race. See Martin Truex Jr. in that one car battling Greg Biffle in the 16. I just think Greg Biffle will definitely pay the price for these older tires now.
How about Truex, though? They had, Krista, they had carburetor trouble in practice early in the week. Are they okay now?
Exactly, Mike Joy. Yeah, what about Truex? All the way up to second as he makes the pass on Greg Biffle, but that carburetor issue still existed. Down here in the pit, you see they have a carburetor ready because ever since lap 10, Martin has said the motor is amiss. And just 4 laps ago, he said, quote, if my motor would run, I could kill them.
This car looks awfully good through the corner.
I don't think I bet he's a lot happier with it right now, Krista. You get up there like he is right now, that carburetor will fix itself.
You know, there's a car right behind Greg Biffle in that 16 car. Elliott Sadler in the 19 started this race on the outside of the front row. He reported he had no front grip in the front tires when the race started, but now Steve Burns, he's made his way back to the top 5.
Larry Mack, Elliott Sadler told me he was very concerned about his car being tight. But after that red flag, they took just 2 right side tires, and he said his car is rotating well. They're doing a good job. They dropped out of the top 10, but now inside the top 5.
Fox Sports supports autism awareness. For more info, go to autismspeaks.org. You'll see that puzzle piece logo on Elliott Sadler's helmet, Jamie McMurray's on the Impala pace cars used here and elsewhere throughout. We thank those organizations for their support of Autism Speaks.
We talk about races within the race. We're looking at a race right now. Carl Edwards in the 99 car. He got the lap down because of the pit road penalty several laps ago. He's trying to get in front of that Red Bull car of Brian Vickers because then Carl would be the first car lap down. He would get that free pass should we get a caution.
1 lap ago, David Gilliland got a little sideways. Not sure he caught a piece of Carl, but had a big slide right in front of Clint Boyer.
That's where he's actually trying to stay off of Carl. Got a lot of wheel into it, and the car just pushed loose.
And David, of course, is a lap down. I think you'll see these guys drive harder when they're a lap down because they're trying to get up there to put themselves into that position to be the first car lap down.
Another car we've not seen tonight, talked to him in the pre-race, and that is Kevin Harvick, who's worked his way up to 7th place. Matt?
Mike, it's been a big work in progress for Kevin Harvick in the 29 team. He has been super tight most of the night. He's pitted 4 different times, and they have taken big swings at it every time. And now he says we are definitely headed in the right direction. I just need to have a little more of the same adjustment we made on the last stop. And this is somebody, if he can get his car right here, he should be pretty tough. He's won here in all 3 of NASCAR's top divisions.
Well, again, not surprising. Some of the cars that were strong in the daytime, fading in the nighttime, and other cars like Harvick fighting their way to the front.
Yeah, well, they started a little far back deep in the field, but as the night wears on, they kind of inched themselves forward. He and his teammate Jeff Burton will probably be 2 that we'll notice as we go forward here.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. has built about a little over a second lead over his former teammate of Martin Truex Jr. Elliott Sadler, we just talked about him. He was all the way up against the wall, Darrell.
Yeah, he's got a tire. He's got a tire down there. He just looks like maybe the right front.
There it goes, and there's the caution.
Got a yellow now. Got a yellow. Got a yellow. Got a yellow. Got a yellow.
Sadler has drawn the caution. It is the 6th one of the night.
Job all weekend, guys. Let's try to get it to the garage. Make sure we know what's going on. You hear it come loose? Yeah, 10-4.
Worse than the tire.
Yes.
And that's a shame. You know, Elliott Sadler had a top 10 finish in the Daytona 500. They have absolutely just been terrible since then. I think this is a lot more maybe than even a tire problem.
Yeah, it is. I heard him say take it to the garage. Thought he had a tire. He went up the hill over there like something happened to the like a right front tire.
Boy,
Wow.
Dave
Whoa,
Blaney
man.
at 22 just squeezed by. But this is definitely the best run this team has had since leaving the Daytona 500.
Now we should mention Kurt Busch, who had fought his way up to 17th but had a penalty on his pit stop for the crewman responsible for rolling the tire back to the pit wall that came off the car, lost control of that tire, and so Kurt Busch had to restart tail end, which was 21st, and he's made up 3 of those spots. Carl Edwards, free pass.
Yeah, he was sitting there. He and the 83 car were having a real battle. Got him back.
Getting ready for pit stops. Let's crank it up.
You could hear those air wrenches almost in
Preventive
unison.
maintenance there. I saw that one coming.
Like the big winner on pit road, Todd Berry or Kevin Harvick in that 29 car. They gained 3 positions. And how about the 24 Jeff Gordon? How's it look? They may have just went with 2.
A lot of cleanup down in turns 1 and 2. Elliott Sadler has exited his car. He's likely done for the night after bringing out the 6th caution of the night. Now Jeff Hammond was watching this battle closely to see who would be in the free pass position.
Well,
Jeff?
The caution still not out yet, and Carl Edwards got by him.
Yeah, what happened there, and Jeff pointed out, the 99 nerfed the 83 just a skosh right at the right time. Good timing on the 99's part.
Ready for the restart.
Now our top 3 cars, Mark Martin in the 8, McMurray in the 26, Kurt Busch in the 2, that was penalized not too long ago, they stayed out under this caution, so we're starting to get a lot of off sequence on pit stops.
And Ryan Vickers was out there on the tail end of the lead lap. He's trying to stay in front of the leader right now. So is Robbie Gordon. So is Scott Riggs trying to get back on the lead lap.
Riggs is making it very, very difficult for Mark. He's pinned him down there, and that's how Robbie got around him.
Riggs in the 66.
You know, Mark Martin, I talked to him earlier today, and as I mentioned, he really wants to go to victory lane. Boy, you see Brian Vickers in the 83 sliding off turn 2.
Yeah, and he just about slid Junior into the wall, too.
But Mark Martin told me, he said he really wants to win a race driving for DEI, and he said, Larry, it's so hard to win one of these Sprint Cup races today. It's just hard.
Robbie Gordon clears. Brian Vickers.
I think the 2 and the 88 got together over there, guys.
Ooh, they're about to again.
Getting a little tight.
That's close.
See Junior up there in the stay dry. He's trying to force his way into on the outside. It closes up. The track really gets tight right in there. I don't know if they ever touched or not.
And the next lap, Junior is about to thread the needle, and that hole just came right to a close, and here he is. Right behind, that's Carpentier in the 10, and Busch in the 2 right ahead of him.
This is one of those places you have got to be so aggressive on the restarts and in traffic, because guys can hold you up and get you way behind.
Dick Berggren.
Elliott Sadler qualified on the outside of the front row, was having a good night, and then all of a sudden we saw you slow and then hit the wall. What happened?
We just lost our motor, and I felt that losing it going into turn 3, so I wanted to get out the groove and not roll down the track. So just a shame. My Stanley Dodge was fast tonight. We're running the top 10 all night. Great pit stops. Very optimistic about this new race car. It was very fast tonight. Best car we've had all year. So we can hang our heads because we're not getting the finish we want, but we can be optimistic because we got ourselves something to work with.
We'll see you at Talladega, and he flies at that place.
And Darrell, there's an engine that got in trouble. We're getting a report that Bobby Labonte, the 43 car, is down a cylinder. Normally this racetrack is not that hard on engines, but they've got a pretty low gear in these cars. We were seeing in practice 96, 9,700 RPM.
Yeah, that's a lot of RPM for this racetrack.
If there's anything wrong with that #1 car, Martin Truex, everybody's going to want their car detuned like that, because he's in second place to his teammate Mark Martin. 2 seconds off the lead, trying to hold Jamie McMurray back and Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Darrell, you were pointing toward 3 and 4.
Yeah.
It was Kyle Busch in the 18 car.
He took off up the hill. I thought he was gone, but he saved it.
There's Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car. Right now, he's trying to make his way back to the top 10. They've got off sequence on pit stops a little bit. Right now, he's back in the 11th spot, a little over 5 seconds behind leader Mark Martin.
5 seconds and a pile of cars between him and the leader.
But you're talking about Mark Martin in the 8 car leading the race right now, and his teammate running second. That's what Mark Martin is so good at. He's a teacher. He brings so much to the table. He comes to the racetrack and he's a good guy to get information from, and that's really helping Martin, I think.
So right now, Robbie Gordon in the 7 car, should we get a caution, he's back on the lead lap the hard way by staying out in front of the leader. Right now, the first car 1 lap down behind the leader, David Gilliland in the 38 car.
Clint Boyer to the inside of Kurt Busch in the deuce. And that's a battle for 7th place. They almost got together. Here's McMurray trying to get away from Carpentier, who is 2 laps down on the board.
Last time I watched the cars come down pit road, Mike, you talking about they almost got together. Yeah. These cars look like they've been running on short track at Martinsville. Wheel marks all beat up down the right side. They're racing hard tonight.
3 of the Roush Fenway cars among the among the Ford movers. Matt Kenseth spent 40 laps in the garage, but is back out there still running. Out of the race, Joe Nemechek, J.J. Yaley, and behind the wall, Matt Kenseth, Ryan Newman, and Elliott Sadler.
Jamie Mack holding his own pretty good there in the 6th spot after having a big moment down here in turn 1 earlier.
And we're watching a battle between the Busch brothers. Kyle Busch that we're riding with, he just went by his brother Kurt Busch. Right now, that is a battle for about the 8th position behind Greg Biffle in the 16. And there you see Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car that has led right at 109 laps of this race, trying to work his way back to the front.
Dick Berggren.
Well, Kyle Busch has not been pleased with his car all night long, Mike, but before the last round of pit stops, he said that he really didn't know what they needed to do next. Car has gotten a bit better, but it just doesn't feel quite right. Matt Yoakum.
And Dick, the guy right in his mirror, Jimmy Johnson, Chad Knaus made the call to put themselves back on the same cycle with the leaders. That's why they hit pit road. Slight track bar adjustment to tweak on that race car.
You know, with only 134 laps to go, you may only get a couple more chances to tune on these race cars. So the clock is ticking.
21 cars on the lead lap in Phoenix. 134 laps to go. Mark Martin out front.
The Subway Fresh Fit 500 on Fox is sponsored by the Home Depot, NASCAR's home improvement warehouse. by non-drowsy Claritin allergy products. By the Ford F-150, built Ford tough. And by Allstate. Are you in good hands?
We're going to make Dave Blaney our Allstate Good Hands driver tonight for this close call. Watch the 22 right there as he narrowly avoids Elliott Sadler. Close call. Allstate, are you in good hands?
I think that's well deserving of that. Very well deserving.
No glare in his eyes, just a car.
185 laps complete. There's Casey Kane 16th. And here's the point leader, Jeff Burton, coming in here. Now racing in 14th position, just ahead of Carl Edwards. And moving up to 13th on the number 2 of Kurt Busch.
Yeah, Kurt Busch right now in his 2 car, he's paying the price, I think, for staying out on that last caution. And I think the guys are going to regret that this 99 car got back on the lead lap, because he's definitely marching back toward the front.
He is, and I'll tell you another guy that's making a nice little quiet run here is the 11 car, Denny Hamlin. He slid into the top 5.
We're 2/3 of the way in the Subway Fresh Fit 500 tonight. Jimmy Johnson's led 109 laps. Pole sitter Ryan Newman led 37. He's now out of the race. Mark Martin has been out in front for 24 circuits. And Dale Earnhardt Jr., the only other driver to lead this race, has led 17. It's been a race of comers and goers. And how about the 88, Krista?
Well, a while back, Mike Jr. said he was just a tick snug. He didn't want to loosen his race car up too much, but his car is getting much tighter. So much so, in fact, that just a lap ago, Jr. said on his radio, it's getting tight. I wish I could set this thing on fire. It makes me so mad.
Well, it's been the theme of this entire race. We knew. Now I think the track has went through that final huge transition. It's completely nighttime now, and the track has really cooled down, and this is where these cars are going to change handling. And now we have Carl Edwards in the 99 going by Jeff Burton, our points leader. That's a battle right now, no longer a battle for 13th.
Now, this is a point in the race. Think back to last week. Junior got really mad at his car. This is the point in the race where Junior's got to buckle down, and he and Tony Jr. got to figure out what to do to it before it gets out of hand.
What I like, Darrell, this is where Tony Uri Jr.'s got to be a salesman. He has the quickest car on the racetrack right now, along with the man you just mentioned, Denny Hamlin, at 11.
I wish I had my old race car.
Junior soldiering on in 3rd. He's 3.3 seconds off the lead. His teammate Jimmy Johnson is 8th, and here is Jeff Gordon in 10th. NASCAR Day coming up in May, and you can get your NASCAR Day pins at the Home Depot. And all pins sold this weekend will benefit the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Jeff Gordon has done over 200 Make-A-Wish visits, spends a lot of time with these kids, and a great cause. And all of the NASCAR Day pins sold this weekend will benefit the Make-A-Wish cause.
You know what, Mike? On every driver's steering wheel, there ought to be a little sign that says, for the radio button, use this only in case of an emergency. Because drivers just can't resist using that radio.
Now, Make-A-Wish is the Fox baseball support group. You know, we have Autism Speaks Out. That's Major League Baseball on Fox.
Jeff Gordon was 21st when he got his lap back 42 laps ago, and he's now climbed into the top 10. As we look from Dale Jr. back at Kevin Harvick, another car that started off this race back in the pack and has now come on up into the top 5.
I think Jeff Gordon being in the top 10 would be a moral victory. I mean, as much trouble as they had last week, they came in here, they didn't qualify that great 11th. Running pretty good right now, not bad anyway.
Harvick's car just keeps getting better and better.
And you can see right there, he got down on that flat on that apron like Darrell's been talking about. It's a little different. Banking makes the car turn if it's tight.
It's that old left front wheel down there and get some grip.
Chevrolet in the front 4 positions, led by Mark Martin, 2.8 seconds ahead of his teammate Martin Truex. Watch David Reagan coming in from the right side of your screen. Around he goes. He's going to just kiss the wall with the left rear corner. And that spin will put us under caution for the 7th time tonight.
Right front tire down, Mike. You can see that as it recovers.
Casey Mears got quite a scare and just missed Reagan. The free pass.
Went a lap down. Yes, 10-4.
The free pass will go to Dave Gilliland. He was the first car 1 lap down.
Now, what's timely about this caution, we've got off sequence with everybody on pit stops. I think now everyone will come to pit road and get 4 tires here, and we'll have just a little over 100 laps to go when we restart it. I'd get back in my hole too, Digger.
Gilliland was battling with Robbie Gordon to be the first car 1 lap down. Gilliland prevailed, and pit road is open. Dick Berggren.
Mark Martin will pit out of the lead, and they continue all night long to call him the old man, but he is the fastest man on the racetrack. They are not going to change anything on this car except add fuel and 4 fresh tires. No wrench in the back, nothing.
Matt. Kevin Harvick's team continues to make this Chevrolet better and better, but he needs a chassis adjustment, and he needs to get this car to turn better in the center of the corner. Air pressure and chassis, Steve.
Jeff Gordon is tight in the middle and loose off. Air adjustment out of the right rear tire for Jeff Gordon.
For Martin Truex, a half round down on the track bar, a half pound out of the left side. Small adjustments for Truex. Meanwhile, also an air pressure change for Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Big move for Junior. +2 to the top of the board.
That's important now.
8 car was just a little wee bit slow on left sides.
Yes.
Good stop, guys.
Here's your race off pit road as we're under caution in Phoenix.
Fresh Fit 500 on Fox is sponsored by Lowe's. For all your home improvement needs, Lowe's. Let's build something together.
Green flag with 108 laps to go. Dale Earnhardt Jr. leading Mark Martin, Martin Truex, Denny Hamlin, and Kevin Harvick.
Boy, this is when it's most intense on these restarts. They get 3 wide. That's just not good here.
And you see Robbie Gordon up there in that 7 car just driving his guts out, trying to get back on the lead lap. He's been trying for a long time to get back on the lead lap.
He's pretty good for a few laps, and then he fades ever so slightly and allows somebody to always get around him and get that pass besides him.
That's his yellow number 7, now 4th in line. First car 1 lap down.
Riding with Tony Stewart right now in the 20 car. He's in the 11th position, just outside the top 10. And I know we've been talking about DEI, we've been talking about Hendrick, we've been talking about Gibbs, but right now, and we knew this was probably going to come to fruition, 3 of the Richard Childress cars, remember they're 1, 2 in points, Jeff Burton, Kevin Harvick, but all 3 of those cars are in the top 10 now. There you see Kevin Harvick in the 29 car. Right now, he's the highest of them right now in 5th.
But I've been impressed with Jeff Burton. I've been keeping an eye on him because every week he starts back and every week he ends up in the top 10. And he is moving forward at a nice clip.
Started 39th. Now he's in 10th.
He just got around his teammate back there. He just got around the Boyer.
There's Burton, the orange car.
And one thing, he's been solid. Of course, he won Bristol, but he's completed every lap so far of the first 7 races. That's one big reason he's the points leader.
And Kevin Harvick is in 2nd in the points. He's finished every lap but 1. And that's why he's in 2nd place.
Richard Childress high atop the hauler, looking over his 3 cars. Former driver turned team owner, won championships with Dale Earnhardt, and now has this 3-car team that will become a 4-car team in 2009.
And I think Richard learned a lot when he went from 2 to 3. It actually hurt that operation for a while. I think he learned from mistakes. I think that's one reason he's already announced it here in the month of April.
Well, the other reason, Larry, is there's a lot of drivers whose contracts are up at the end of this season, and knowing that there's one good ride that's open, the phone might start ringing out there in Welcome, North Carolina. Traffic jam. Reagan in the middle in the 6. There was a bit of contact there.
And I tell you what, as we've mentioned, these cars are durable. You can do a little beating and banging on the side, but the one thing you have to be careful, we've seen a lot of flat tires tonight. In fact, that's what brought one of the last cautions out, was David Reagan with a flat right front tire.
Well, these tires, they don't have interliners in them here on this 1 mile racetrack. They don't have to have And that splitter, it sticks out just far enough. If you make contact in the right position, it can cut a tire down.
You see Bobby Labonte there in the 43 car. We just talked about Richard Childress Racing. That's a sponsor that will go to that 4th team. It's not known what Bobby's future, but he's down a cylinder right now and still on the lead lap, running in the 18th position. Now, they did have the hood up a couple times on that race car.
Denny Hamlin racing for the March of Dimes this weekend in 4th place. The 3 Gibbs cars are our Toyota top performers, 4th, 6th, and 12th right now. Marchforbabies.org for Denny Hamlin. It's fundraising walk season for the March of Dimes.
I just think this little car right here has been easing its way up through there, and I think we haven't heard the last of him.
Not making a lot of noise yet.
Nope.
Joe Nemechek in the 78 car, who right now is being shown in the 43rd position. He's now back out on the racetrack.
In 2 weeks, the fastest speedway on earth for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, Sweet Home, Alabama. Krista told us an interesting story during practice the other day about Robbie Gordon. He's going to go over to Paris for the makeup version of the Dakar Rally, which used to be the Paris-Dakar Rally, incidentally. And he's going to go there and go from the Champs-Élysées to Speedway Boulevard in Talladega, Alabama. A little bit of culture shock, but he's going to go get set up to run in France and then on the weekend off and then come back for Talladega.
So only Robbie Gordon would try things like that. I mean,
that's right.
And he does it all the time.
He makes it interesting, that's for sure.
I will guarantee you we don't go to Talladega for 2 weeks, but they'll start piling in that place and setting up campers probably the latter part of this week. 500 miles down there.
Staking their territory.
A couple of cars that were strong early and now are mired mid-pack. Jimmy Johnson is 10th. Carl Edwards is 14th. And Matt, they both lost some spots on the last pit stop.
The last round really cost him dearly, Mike, in track position. Before the race, Chad Knaus told his team in his pre-race speech on the radio, today you've got to play like the champions you are. No mistakes because the race is so short, we may not have a chance to get him back. A small issue on the right side snowballed into a little bit bigger issue when they came around the left side. He restarted back in 14th. Meanwhile, the 99 of Carl Edwards, he was really rolling toward the front, but he had a tire roll out of the pit box. Carl saw it. Lost a couple spots, but no penalty.
Well, they've had some issues with that. Back at Las Vegas, they had an issue with that. So that's something they need to concentrate on.
Well, the new rule this year is that the tire carrier must control the tire that comes off the car all the way back across the first half of the pit box so that tire gets to the pit wall.
And I think that's a good rule because we have seen tires bouncing up and down on pit road, getting hit by cars. Dover, Delaware, it's notorious because of how small the pit road is there. I think it's a great rule.
I'll tell you something. We're going to have us a new winner tonight if things keep going like they are. And it's not going to be Dale Jr. It's not going to be 2 8s. It's going to be 1 8. That black car is fast. I've been watching the lap times. He picks up a 10th on Dale Jr. about every other lap.
Let's follow him around from our aerial coverage provided tonight by Goodyear. For track tested technology, get there on Goodyear Innovation. There's turns 3 and 4.
Do you know, Larry, the DEI cars have run well here for a long time. And I think that setup must still be working pretty good.
But we can tell, speaking of Goodyear tires, that the track is really getting better grip because it's really cooling down. When you look at basically our top 5 cars, they ran the fastest lap they've run in this race just within the last 10 laps.
Sometimes waiting is the hardest part, and the other man who drives this car besides Mark Martin is Eric Almirola. And again, he must watch Mark wheel that car and await his next turn. Dick Berggren.
Well, Mark Martin in second position right now, Mike rather, is doing very well, but there's still more speed left in that number 8 car. He said it needs to turn just a little bit better. Recall they made no adjustments to the car on the last pit stop. They will no doubt adjust it on the next one.
And I I think Eric gave that car a real shot in the arm when he finished 8th with it at Bristol. Had a little problem with it at Martinsville, but they really brought that car alive.
And as we mentioned, you may only get one more chance to make that car right. Possibly only one more stop.
91 laps to go in the Subway Fresh Fit 500.
Watching NASCAR on Fox.
NASCAR and Fox in Phoenix, 84 laps to go. Dale Earnhardt Jr. currently with the lead. It's been 69 races, nearly 2 years since he has won. This, of course, the first year running for Hendrick Motorsports. Ask the Pros, built by the Home Depot on foxsports.com. Gets better. Tony Stewart joining DW, Larry Mack and Jeff on the site. And we have problems on the track right now.
Yeah, the caution is out right now. The 9 car of Casey Kane has gotten to the outside safer barriers.
Been up pretty bad.
You can see the sparks coming out from underneath it. Casey Kane telling the crew that the whole right front has definitely been up pretty bad.
Kane running 13th at the time of this and trying to stay in the top 12 in points. You can go to foxsports.com, ask the pros, Greg Zipadelli, Tony Stewart, DW, Larry Mack, and Jeff, and they'll give you their answer. Let's listen on the in-car.
Right sides are down.
And from outside on the 31 of Jeff Burke.
Oh, hard lick that outside wall again. You know, you can see him come down inside there, the right front tire. It looked like he hit the outside wall coming off first, and that cut the right front tire. Now he hit the wall.
Drama building. Mark Martin hoping to win for DEI. It's been 30 races, and Junior hanging on. Here's Dick Berggren with pit stops.
And Mark Martin said he just needs a little bit more grip coming off turn 4 if he is to beat Dale Earnhardt Jr., who he has been following for many laps since that last caution flag. The crew tonight has done a nice job. Matt.
Kevin Harvick hits pit road in the 5th position, going to make another track bar adjustment. His biggest issue is the car just way too free now on exit, Steve.
Chassis adjustment for Jeff Gordon, Matt. He says his car is loose. We're going to try and get him a little bit tighter, Krista.
Denny Hamlin is just a little bit loose. Dale Earnhardt Jr. snug in, slick off. No adjustments for the 88.
And we have seen pit problems tonight for some, such as Carl Edwards, but here, Jeff Hammond.
Yeah, it looks like right now the 88 car Dale Earnhardt Jr., they had a solid stop, came back out in first, followed very closely by Mark Martin in the 8.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. hanging on. Denny Hamlin moving on up. 82 laps to go under caution. When they go green, we'll be back. It's NASCAR on Fox from Phoenix.
We restart with 80 laps to go in Phoenix. Kurt Busch got the free pass. He's back on the lead lap as Dale Earnhardt Jr. leads Mark Martin, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, and Kyle Busch.
But Denny Hamlin and that 11 got quite a run through 1 and 2 on the high side, trying to battle right now. Mark Martin in the 8. Darrell mentioned the 11 car. I don't think we've heard the last of him.
No, sir. He's been coming and coming and coming, and I've been watching him, and that car has been getting better and better, and that boy knows how to win on a track like this. Mark Martin's not going to roll over for him real easily, but I think Hamlin's got a great race car.
Now, what's interesting about that caution, these guys came to pit road, everyone on lap 230 with 82 to go. Based on all the information we gathered, that's outside of the fuel window for Sunoco race fuel. So I believe everybody right now is a little short on making it to the end should we go caution free.
One thing we talked about caution free at the top of the day, I agree, was who could improve their car the most throughout the running of this race. And the two fellas that would get my vote are Kevin Harvick, who right now is 4th, and Jeff Gordon, who is 9th. Neither of those cars ran well early, and they've really picked up.
And Jeff seems to be really good on the long run. The longer we go green with Jeff, seems like the better his car is.
This may be another cat we hadn't heard the last of right now. Kyle Busch in that 18 car. Those guys, Steve Addington, had one more shot to make adjustments on that thing. And now he's up there trying to battle Kevin Harvick in the 29 car. That would be a battle right now. Kevin's in the 4th spot.
Well, we heard that he may have a slight brake issue, Larry. The 18 does. And when the car doesn't handle good, you use a lot more brakes. So get the car handling better for him, and the car, he won't have to use so much brake. What do they say about that, Dick?
Well, he hasn't said anything about the brakes until since the last pit stop, Darrell, so it's been quite a long while since he said anything about it. But he has basically complained about that car all night long. He said just before the last pit stop that the car needs speed. It's just playing tight in the center. It said that as far as he's concerned, they simply have not had the speed they've needed all weekend long.
You saw Kyle Busch put a hand out the window, give a wave to Martin Truex for running him clean as Busch made the pass. They are 3.5 seconds off the lead right now, growing to 4. So Dale Earnhardt Jr. leads Mark Martin by just 0.4 of a second. Denny Hamlin 1.5 back, and Kevin Harvick 3 seconds off the lead.
The Subway Fresh Fit 500 on Fox is delivered by UPS, the official express delivery company of NASCAR.
UPS delivers up-to-the-minute race info at foxsports.com, keyword Fox Tracks. 73 laps to go, and most probably one more pit stop before we settle this one.
I'm going to tell you what, though. Mark Martin got passed for a moment by Denny Hamlin, that 11 car, but now he is pulled back up on the rear bumper of that 88 car. And I know we've got 73 laps to go, but just think about that battle right there. That car we're looking at, that's the car that Dale Earnhardt Jr., that number that he made.
Positions 2.5 back.
He made 291 starts in, 17 wins. He left DEI because he felt like they were not going in the right direction. And here these two cars are battling for the lead with about 70 laps to go here at Phoenix.
Kind of thought we'd see this at some point in time where he was going to have to race his old car. That's a lot of 8s right there.
Tell you what, that 8 car is good through the middle of the corner right now. And I don't think any of these 100,000 people are sitting down right now.
Darrell, looks like Mark's car is sweeping to through the corner, and Junior's car is taking little bites out of it.
Yeah, I think what Mark's got, he's got that kind of almost like he's trying to diamond that great big old corner. In a little wide, down a little low, and back out a little wide. And it's really giving him good straightaway speed. I think Mark's sitting there saying, you know, I'm not going to get this dude up off the bottom. I think Mark's trying to see how his car might act if he went to the top, although Junior just opened the bottom a little bit for him right there. I think they're both sitting there saying, how am I going to beat this guy, and how am I going to keep this guy from beating me?
These two cars right now that Mark has caught him, they're actually pretty equal right now.
Casey Kane has gone to the garage where he'll join teammate Elliott Sadler, Reed Sorensen, and Ryan Newman. 4 cars out of the race now. Great battle up front for the lead. Mark Martin has led 38 laps. Junior's been out in front for 58.
Now you just saw, I just watched Junior. He's changed his line considerably. He's gone up the high side just a little bit, and it really has helped him.
Battles all over the place. You see the battle in the upper left-hand part of your screen. That's a battle for 6. The upper right-hand corner right there, that was a battle for 10.
What a comeback by Carl Edwards, Larry. I mean, goodness gracious. Get the lap down, get the lucky pass.
Edwards lost his lap when he pitted under green, and the caution came out shortly thereafter. Watch what happens as Casey Kane comes off track here. Sparks and things flying, a little liquid. Ooh, spare part or two right up under Mark Martin's car.
That looks like a brake pad. Don't know if it was or not.
It looked like
That's what it
something
looked
like that.
You see Junior's car, it just gets a little, he's playing toss and catch it with that car, where Mark's car is really smooth through the corner.
Pushy loose, cranking on it. I think both these guys are giving it pretty much all they got right now.
I would say so.
And company's coming. Denny Hamlin is beginning to eat into the lead those two Chevrolets have. He's about 1.9 seconds back.
Well, that's what I noticed about Hamlin before, Mike, was on the restarts maybe not so good, but as they went into a run, he just kept gaining a little bit at a time until he would be back there.
It's almost like Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car just wasn't that good 5 or 6 laps after a restart till the air pressure kind of came up in the tires a little bit.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. leading Mark Martin in the Subway Fresh Fit 500 on Fox.
Man, the plot thickens. Stay tuned for more NASCAR on Fox.
There is the lead battle with 59 laps to go. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is picking up about a tenth of a second every lap on Mark Martin as you watch from our aerial coverage from Goodyear for track-tested technology. Get there on Goodyear innovation. Denny Hamlin's fallen to 2.5 seconds back. Kevin Harvick 4 seconds off the lead.
And when Junior moved up just a little bit down in 1 and 2, he's still running a nice low line here in 3 and 4. But when he took the higher line in 1 and 2, he started to inch away from Mark Martin. It really does free the car up and give it a nice shot off the straight. We see Hamlin fishtailing up out of the corner.
Yeah, right now, Dale Earnhardt Jr., he's the only guy that's been running in the high 28-second brackets. Everyone else down in the low 29s.
Dick Berggren.
Mark Martin has just told his crew that the car is loose coming off the corners, Mike.
And you know, I'm not surprised. I had a long talk with Chad Knaus this morning on a lot of different subjects, and the one thing that Chad feared is this track got to this point, completely cooled down from nighttime. Matt, he felt like the car was going to get tight in the center, but get loose off as the track cooled down, Matt.
Absolutely, and Larry Mack in the previous 20 seasons has taken only 6 times for the Hendrick guys to win a race, their first win of the season, in the 8th race or longer. Right now, Jimmy Johnson, who led 109 laps earlier tonight, says he doesn't feel like his car is horrible, but to go faster and get back to the pace he was, he's going to need more side bite. That's what Chad Knaus is thinking about on their next stop.
One thing that we've been talking about really all weekend is the fact that this is a fairly short race. And I certainly don't want to say that Chad Knaus made a mistake, but I just felt like when they stayed out back on lap 133 and then had to come to pit road the next caution and got way back in the pack, they've never recovered from that yet.
It seems like, and these guys say this all the time, when you get back there in that traffic, it just really, really is hard to make any time.
Right now, Jimmy Johnson is the only car lapping quicker than the leader, Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's coming up on Kurt Busch to put Kurt back 1 lap down once again.
When you're almost 6 seconds back, though, it's going to take, I don't think you got time to catch him back.
But again, I want to set the story up here. We had that last caution that came out on lap 229. Everyone pitted on lap 230, which is roughly about 82 laps to go. We feel like that almost everyone is figuring they're anywhere probably from 5 to 10 laps shy of making it to the end. You look at our last 3 races, it's been won and lost on decisions made on pit road. We could be very well headed that direction again. There will be some cars that try to make it.
Yeah, I guarantee you. Why not?
53 laps to go. J.J. Yeley came back out of the garage area. He's picked up 2 spots since his return, as has Joe Nemechek. Matt Kenseth has picked up 5. There is the distance. 39 laps of Sunoco left in the tank and 52 laps left in the race.
Well, that doesn't compute too good. That's even worse than I thought. I don't know if anybody could make it with that many laps.
Well, Darrell, but the die is cast. If we have a caution, everybody comes in. If we don't, and everybody still has to stop, the outcome's probably going to be pretty much the same.
Yeah, I agree. The question is, are there some people that can make it that far? That's the kind of throws the monkey wrench in everything. And then the big question is, Mr. Crew Chief, what are you going to do?
If I come with less than 10 laps to go, I'm going to hold you there for about 2 to 3 seconds and just get you enough gas to get to the end. You know, one guy I want to make note of, David Rudiman in this 44 car. This will be the 3rd race he's been in this 44 car. They've had a lot of problems the last couple of weeks. He's had to come to the last 2 races and qualify on time. He has stepped up and he has done that in this 44 car, and David is still on the lead lap in 18th position. And remember how tight the battle is back there to stay in the top 35 or to get there.
And I want to give a call to his teammate, Michael McDowell, who started racing at the age of 8 in Glendale, Arizona, just over the hill from the racetrack here. After his qualifying crash at Texas, he came back, ran a good solid race, and he's been whipping back and forth coast to coast doing TV interviews all week long and showing replays of that crash, but no ill effects for McDowell. Happy to be here in his hometown to have a chance to race, and currently he's 31st, the first car 2 laps down.
And right now, I think the biggest agenda for Michael McDowell is try to run as many laps as possible. Performance, yeah, that's important, but not as important as just seat time.
Yeah, I think. Well, there goes his boss. Let's see. Go ahead there, boss. I'll get out of your way. You're a little better than I am. Yeah, but I think you're right, Larry. This is a good kid, and he's got a good head on his shoulders. I watched him do all those interviews, handled himself very, very well. He was very articulate when he got out of that race car wrecked last week. So, good kid, and I think he's got the ability to get it done.
We've talked about the danger zone and the top 35 of owner points. That determines who has to make the race on time and who is guaranteed in. And the way we stand right now, these drivers would have the exemption 2 weeks from now at Talladega, and J.J. Yaley, who crashed early, might have to rely on time trial to make the show, along with Sauter, Blaney, Franchitti, and the rest. Now, this race isn't over. J.J. still has a chance to fight back into the top 35, depending on what happens with Regan Smith.
And you see he's only 3 points out. That's one position. So if he can just gain one position, then he would certainly possibly go back in there, depending on where the 01 car finishes.
And based on the way all the Toyotas ran at Daytona, he stands a pretty good chance of running good at Talladega.
Well, the bad news for Yaley is being 87 laps down with 46 to go. He's not going to gain a position.
Here's
the next
a guy
car
that's going to gain, though, Mike.
Is only 42 laps down.
We were just talking about that 48 car, Jimmy Johnson. Will they have enough time to make it back to the front? He just drives by Kevin Harvick. That will move him up to the 4th position, about a little over 4 seconds behind leader Dale Earnhardt Jr.
But he is cutting into that lead.
Good job, bud. That's 4th spot.
The question is, how long will Dale Earnhardt Jr. be the leader? Mark Martin has caught him as he needed a little time to get past Dave Blaney. And Darrell, I think this is a pivotal race with Junior. Whether or not he wins, the big question mark about he and Tony Eury Jr. and this 88 team is, can they end the race with a car that is better than what they started with? That has been a problem for them, and it looks like tonight, mission accomplished.
Yeah, this has been the best run all night long I've seen them have.
44 laps to go in the desert.
The Subway Fresh Fit 500 on Fox is sponsored by Subway, where Tony Stewart goes to fuel up. Subway, race hard, eat fresh. By Toyota, moving forward. By DirecTV, if you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV. And by Sprint, welcome to the 2008 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Speed is beautiful.
The 1993 winner here and 5-time second place finisher got tired of running second. Mark Martin has come to the lead. Here's how he did it. Lower right of your screen.
Floats it down in there, and of course Junior's moved up to that higher line, and now Mark has got the bottom groove, and away he goes. He's checking out now.
And now Junior's fighting to hold on to second as Denny Hamlin is right there.
Hamlin's car is so good. The longer we run, the better it gets. And I really still believe that Levin car might have a little something for all these guys.
37 laps to go, and the big question is, when will they come to pit road, and what will they do when they get there? We believe everyone will need one more stop to make it the final 36 miles.
You know what's great about our sport is Mark Martin, who just took the lead. He made his first start on April 5th of 1981, 27 years ago. We're looking at a kid right there in the 11 that was 5 months old when Mark Martin made his first start. Denny Hamlin, oh, by the way, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was 6 years old.
I gotta believe Junior was probably there when Mark made his first start.
Probably, hanging out with old Dad.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Johnson is right with them. Boy, that car has really bounced back after losing 6 spots in the pits on the last stop, coming in 8th, coming out 14th. Now Jimmy Johnson is challenging for 3rd.
And you can see how much Dale Earnhardt Jr. is on top of that wheel, but definitely the handling has went away on that car.
It has, but I was just going to say about Mark Martin, that car is not handling perfectly by any means. It's just handling better than the rest of these guys.
Backing up, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex. Those cars were strong a little bit ago, but Now moving the other way.
But the outcome of this race could come down to not who has the best handling car, the best driving car.
33 to go. Just save me as much as you can.
Save me as much as you can. Talking about Sunoco fuel right there. If there's someone that can make it to the end, and if you do have to come to pit road, Krista, being mistake-free on that pit stop, because it will be a quick one, Krista.
Absolutely. What's going on with Dale Earnhardt Jr. right now on the track? The only thing he has said on the radio in this entire run, as Mark Martin made the pass, Dale Jr. said he could not hold the throttle down.
Car's just real tail happy, getting real loose off the corner.
And you heard Kyle Busch asked there a little earlier about this. Wanted to ask Bill Elliott if these.
Guys are good.
He wanted to ask.
Chin up. We got a little bit more time here. You got about 32 laps to go. I think we're going to stop and make a pit stop.
So the question will be, will they take time to adjust the car on the stop, or are they just going to gas them and go?
No, because any time spent on pit road could be positions lost.
Yep.
You want to be there. The car almost doesn't even have to stop for the amount of fuel that they have to put in that car.
I was going to say that, you know, Kyle Busch asked earlier if Bill Elliott, if these cars drove like they did back in the day. Well, you might want to ask Mark Martin, because Mark Martin is an old school driver, and this is kind of an old school car.
14 top 10s here for Mark Martin, including 5 second-place finishes. He did win here, but that was 15 years ago. Now he runs a part-time schedule.
56 behind you. 30 to go.
Our top 3 cars just ran a 29.55, a 29.56, and a 29.57 in that order.
So hope they don't throw a bogus one.
That was Mark Martin.
Take care of that fuel, man.
You know, Larry, it's something that I'm kind of find interesting, telling him to take care of the fuel, as if possibly they're not thinking about stopping.
Why would you? That race car, yeah, they're running all the races. Mark Martin is not. Mark Martin is about a win. He's not points racing.
But what I'm hearing there, Darrell, is if he takes care of the fuel, saves a little fuel, that car can be stopped for less time on pit road, because you need to take on less fuel to get to the finish.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're going to time it. It's going to be a time stop. I just think it sounds to me like they're almost thinking about going for it.
Matt?
Mike, Chad Canals just summed it up perfectly. He told Jimmy Johnson 2 laps ago, we are in a unique situation here. Our calculations have us running out on about the last lap. We know our teammate, the 88 of Dale Jr., cannot make it to the finish, but I'm not sure about the 2 cars ahead of us. So right now it's just a wait and see, but they're expecting they're probably going to have to hit pit road for a splash at Sunoco.
Well, here's something else that's considered too. That 11 car running second. Now they have had some fuel issues, and they've been working on that. If you work on it, you might make it better. So he could be a guy sitting there that could make it.
And I know Joe Gibbs, after their issues at Bristol, said, boys, we will fix this problem.
That's right. So I don't know. Kind of wondering whether anybody's planning on stopping or not.
What about the leader, Dick?
Well, Jeff Clark is Mark Martin's gas man, and his fingers have been flying across the keyboard of both his computer and his calculator, and he just told me that Mark Martin will be 1 lap short on fuel.
And I just believe right now what I would hope that Tony Gibson and they're doing with Mark Martin, he has over a second lead. So all you're doing right now is trying to stay in front of that guy behind you and trying to conserve fuel. And there's the guy right behind him. That's what pretty much a little over a second looks like to Denny Hamlin in the 11 car.
Let me tell you something. 1 lap is only a mile. It doesn't take a lot of gas to go a mile.
Well, they're getting about 4.2, 4.3 miles to the gallon. That's just a splash.
That's all it is.
Carl Edwards trying to take 6th away from Kyle Busch. Now the problems that Denny Hamlin's team had were not so much fuel mileage, were they, as they were picking up all the fuel in the cell.
It's when the fuel load got real low. But you know, it's at bank racetracks a lot, and this doesn't have a lot of bank.
Yeah, but the point is, they've been working in that area. When you're working in an area, you're going to make it better. So I think he's probably going to not only pick up a lot of all the fuel, he might have a little extra in there.
Carl Edwards just took over 6th from Kyle Busch. What about his fuel, Matt?
And Mike, that's the good news, that he's climbing back toward the front. The bad news, Robbie Reiser told him a few laps ago, the last calculations that we have, we are around 8 to 10 laps short on fuel.
You're not going to make that difference.
No, you can't. 1 lap, yes.
They have to calculate it because the fuel tank, the fuel cell, is a rubber bladder. It is filled with foam, so in case of a puncture, fuel doesn't run out onto the racetrack, and therefore there's no way to get a fuel gauge in there, so you can't look at a gauge and know how much fuel is in the tank.
And here's another factor. The racetrack is at its best right now, and the race pace is faster now than it was earlier.
And the thing about it is, Mike, they measure, it's only the measurement of the gas tank. They have a dimension that the tank has to measure. They don't know how much it holds.
So what you do is after you fill up the car with gas, you take that can that we just saw and you weigh it or otherwise measure how much gas was left in the cans, and then back into the calculation of how much you put in the tank, how many laps you ran, what your fuel mileage is. It's a dark science.
But I'm going to tell you right now, when I look at our top 3 cars,
we may have to stop.
And that 48 car is carving into the lead. It wasn't that many laps ago. He was all 4 to 5 seconds behind Mark Martin. Now he's only 1.5 seconds. All you have to do if you do come to pit road is just be there for a second. So that could well determine who wins this race.
I think what Mark is seeing is possibly his fuel pressure gauge is fluctuating, and he's saying we may have to stop. That's the first indication that you're about out of fuel.
Have to stop, Mark. Everybody, I can't chance it.
Yeah, they've redone the calculation. They're afraid to gamble.
This has all the look, though, that we're going to have some people stretching it. We're going to have some that barely make it, possibly, if we don't get a caution. I bet we'll have several that are running out of fuel in those last 5 laps.
Yeah, it's not the 2 seconds that you're stopped on pit road. It's getting in and getting out of the pits at the pit road speed limit is really what will cost you a lap.
And we said earlier, you can't make a pit stop here. I don't care if you just shoot a little gas in it and not go a lap down.
19 laps to go. Mark Martin, 3/4 of a second up on Denny Hamlin. Jimmy Johnson, another 4/10 back. Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Not fair.
3 seconds back.
Heads up.
You're fine. Just keep running. Everybody's got to stop.
Heads up, that 48 car is by far the best car. I mean, he's going to look like he's going to take the lead here shortly, but I don't think that's the issue. The issue is the fuel situation right now.
Well, we haven't heard a lot out of them other than they were going to be 1 lap short, and I believe 1 lap.
And you can't half throttle these cars, Darrell, because you lose time and you risk burning up the engine. So you've got to run the car reasonably hard, and that uses fuel.
To get frustrated with the 42 up here.
And there you see now Jimmy Johnson. The top 3 are right there together. And as I mentioned, 25 laps ago, he was 4 seconds behind Mark Martin.
Traffic's going to be an issue, a factor now. There's a lot of cars. A lot of cars here in the front of the leaders.
And Denny Hamlin may be headed for pit road in a couple of laps here.
Now, let me say this, Mike, and Darrell, I think you'll agree with me. If you know you're going to have to stop, don't stretch it too far. Go ahead and get there and get that fuel and get on out of there. Do not run the risk of running out if you know you can't make it.
Yeah, because every time I ever try that, I'll run out in turn 1.
We're possibly hearing that Denny Hamlin, that 11 car, may be coming to pit road. Here he comes. This is with 15 laps to go.
Hamlin came in here 7th in the point standings. It's a no-risk stop for Hamlin, but it drops him out of the top 3.
2 tires, a little over half a can of fuel.
2 tires he's going to take.
Jack, go on the jack.
I think we'll see most of these cars when they come to pit road. I think they will do the fuel only, especially we get down less than 10 laps to go, which we're coming to 14 laps to go.
Look at all that brake dust, man. They're using some brake. 7.1, 2 tires and a little fuel.
Now here comes the 1 car. Remember, that is a DEI car, a teammate to Mark Martin.
Now, will Mark Martin's team be able to learn anything from how much? Well, they won't know how much was left in Truex's tank because he's not going to take a full tank of gas.
No, they're just going to splash and go.
Dick, how about the leader? They got to be getting nervous.
Oh boy, they are really nervous down here in Mark Martin's pit. He has just told the crew that he has saved some gas, Mike, but no doubt they're thinking about 2006 when they ran out of gas, when Mark Martin ran out of gas with victory in sight.
13 and a half laps to go.
And here comes Tony Stewart in a 20-car, of course, a teammate to Denny Hamlin, who was just on pit road. And this comes with about 12 laps to go.
And those are Toyotas, so maybe they don't get quite the mileage that the Chevrolet or the Ford does.
This moves Carl Edwards up to third.
What a comeback. Goodness. 38 just, I don't think he even stopped. He shot fuel in and left. And here's Tony in.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. will come in.
Oh, he stalled it.
May have been out of gas.
He did that last week.
Uses up some precious time. Here comes Junior. Jamie McMurray's in. Junior will surrender 4th place to make his stop. And Mark Martin may pit in 1 lap with 10 to go.
2 tires. Make sure your tires are back. Nice and smooth here.
Jimmy Johnson catching the leader. And what will Mark do?
Whoa, babe, whoa, whoa.
Krista?
Dale Jr. knew it was going to be close. The team estimated they were about 2 to 3 laps short, so the 88 had to come in for 2 tires and fuel.
Gives up the lead.
And Mark Martin is in the pit, and they are going to put outside tires on this car as well as putting fuel in it. And it's a longer stop than would be necessary if it was fuel only.
That will hand the lead. You see it there to Jimmy Johnson in that 48 car. We'll be coming to 9 laps to go this time. Carl Edwards 2nd, Kevin Harvick 3rd, Kyle Busch in 4th, and now Greg Biffle in 5th.
With the success that Hendrick Motorsports had with the car of today platform in the 16 races we ran it last year, who would have believed we'd be 8 races into the season and Hendrick had not yet been to victory lane?
No, but they're back on track now. And even tonight, Jeff Gordon, we see coming on pit road, he's had a good night tonight.
And that's another Hendrick car. Jimmy Johnson, a Hendrick car up there leading the race. Now here comes Carl Edwards in the 99 car. He'll be coming to pit road here as we come to 8 laps to go.
I tell you, of all the people that have come to pit road, Carl Edwards nailed it. He come off turn 4 and he was hot, but he got her woed up.
Now I think they're just going to dump fuel in the 99 car. We're here in about 2 seconds. That's not even hardly stopping the car.
1001, 1002.
There you go.
1, 2.
Good call right there. Good call.
I like that. That could be the race winning.
I said go, man. I hope I got enough fuel in there.
Uh-oh.
I hope so too.
I hope so too.
He's got to run 8 more laps. And that couldn't have been more than a gallon or 2. Harvick up to 2nd place, and we're told out of fuel.
But he's on pit road. So Jimmy Johnson, 7 laps to go for that 48 car.
Got to do it. Somebody needs to be talking.
I kind of like what Jimmy Johnson is doing, Chad Canals. Let everybody else stop and let's see where we are.
But he has over a 10-second lead over now the 2nd place car. He can really slow this race car down now.
It's a gamble, big gamble. When you see everybody else on pit road at this point and you're still going.
And here's Clint Boyer in 2nd place now. He has not yet stopped. His teammate Harvick just ran out of gas.
And can't get it recranked. Remember, Kevin Harvick came in here 2nd in the points.
They have to push Harvick, and he still has not restarted.
There's the difference right there. Almost close to a half a lap between 1st and 2nd place. But now I'm just not seeing the pace slow down on this 48 car.
Harvick finally got refired, Larry, but he lost about 10 seconds after that car stalled.
We've got 5 laps to go now.
So who has not stopped? Jimmy Johnson, Clint Boyer, Jeff Burton, the first 3.
Here you go. Here, nice and easy. Back it down a little more. Plenty of time.
But I sure like what Carl Edwards did. No gas, no tires, no fuel. Pretty close.
He's the top running car of cars that's come to pit road right now, and actually got a pretty decent cushion on the car behind him. Well, in fact, though, he just lost the position to Denny Hamlin in the 11. 4 to go.
Well, the 48 is...
Back it down. Back it down.
If he's got that big lead, but if you're racing for a championship, and you run out of gas and drop off, you're going to lose 20 spots in this race.
Way down. That's what Chad Knaus is telling him. You're not racing Kevin Harvick. You're not racing those guys. The guy you're racing is 10 seconds behind you, plus you've got to make it for 3 more miles.
And that's a third of a lap.
See, he just ran 30.48. That's a second slower. That's what he needs to do right there.
Down a second a lap. 30.40. 3 to go. Back and way down. 2 seconds a lap. Give me 2 seconds.
He can slow it down to 31 seconds, 32 seconds now. Roughly about 2 1/4 laps to go.
Way down.
Boy, this is high stakes poker because if he runs
really
out
is.
of gas, he's going to drop to about 25th or 30th.
Way down.
2 to go.
We got a 20-second lead. 20-second lead.
30.68.
Finish line. 2 to go.
He actually doesn't have a 20-second lead. It's about a 9 3/4 second lead, so he can slow down 2 seconds.
He'll only have 20 seconds if Boyer pits. And Boyer's going for it. He's all the way out of the throttle now, and he'll see the white flag.
White flag this time.
Way down. Slow it down now, bud. Slow it down. Slow it down. Slow it way down. Big gap behind you, White.
Last time
You've
around.
got a 20-second lead there, back and way down. One of the cars going into one now.
What a great gamble.
Down, buddy.
What a great call. High stakes, gambling, he does it.
If he can just make it to turn 4, he'll be in good shape.
Put it in neutral.
He could coast. Put it in neutral. Whatever you want to do. You got it made.
Jimmy Johnson off turn 4.
He did
First win for Hendrick in 2008.
He did
Jimmy Johnson coasts across on fumes and wins it.
I'm not sure we'll see a burnout. I'm not sure there's enough fuel to do a burnout.
That is it. You won.
Oh, by the way.
Clint Boyer crosses the line 8 seconds behind Johnson.
Now all the other guys are saying, why did we stop?
I love it. A fuel mileage race worked.
If I'm the other guy, I'm saying, why did I stop?
Chad Knaus gets a big hug from Jimmy's wife, Shani. And finally, Rick Hendrick will have a chance at victory lane. Defending series champion Jimmy Johnson in a fuel mileage finale.
Now, Denny Hamlin came out on top of the cars that had to come to pit road. He did make his way back to third. That's 3 consecutive top 5 finishes for him here.
And Mark Martin, who just had this race in the bag, he finishes 5th. And Jeff Burton, who started 39th, he finishes in the top 6.
Chevy congratulates Team Chevy driver Jimmy Johnson on winning at Phoenix. From Chevy and American Revolution, Larry, plenty of fuel. Burnouts with?
I told you not to worry, Larry.
My calculator is wore out.
I'm telling you. I knew we could make it. I knew somebody could make it.
Here's Matt with the winning crew chief.
The calmest guy on the pit box. How fun was that? And on top of that, you still had plenty of fuel to do the burnout.
That was a lot of fun. You know, winning races in this series is so difficult to do, and this Lowe's team has just done a phenomenal job. You know, I'm so proud of everybody at Hendrick Motorsports, the effort that's been put into getting these teams running back up front. And I think with what we saw tonight with the 88 running up front and the 48 running up front, you know, I messed up. There's no doubt about it that when everybody else pitted and I stayed out, and we had to make something happen, and that was cool. That was really neat. When the 07 was behind us and he was like 10 seconds back, that's when I knew we had it, so that was cool.
Yeah, Mike, I hope our Fox HD cameras can get you all the smoke here, the ambiance on top of the pit box.
You bet, man. Jimmy Johnson becomes the 5th driver to score back-to-back victories at Phoenix. And it's the 3rd straight win here for Rick Hendrick. Mark Martin has got to wonder about what might have been tonight. Promotional consideration provided by the following. Tonight's Sprint Mobile Monster Moment. A strategic decision may happen in a flash. If you missed it, get up to speed now, not later, with NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile. Chad Knaus' decision to keep Jimmy Johnson out on the racetrack. He had plenty of fuel to do burnouts, but not enough to do his Polish victory lap. He did that one in front of the wrecker, pushing him all the way to victory lane, where Chris Devoda is with the winner.
It has been the pressing question. When would Hendrick Motorsports make it back to victory lane? Jimmy Johnson squashes it, and you do it by basically creating a giant math problem out there. How close were you guys on fuel?
I ran out of gas in the backstretch. We're back, and we've been working very hard to get back, and I couldn't be more proud of everyone at Hendrick Motorsports. I wish Rick was here, and I just was talking to him on the phone, but there's not a group of people that work harder, and I'm so proud of my guys and everybody at Hendrick. Lowe's and their support. The Zapala was awesome tonight. We got off cycle and got a little behind there, and had to drive to the front, still ended up saving gas to make it.
When we were here 6 months ago, Jimmy Johnson was in victory lane. He does it again. The drought is over for Hendrick Motorsports in the desert. Dick Berggren?
Mark Martin finished 5th after a stirring run for the win. They asked you to save fuel. You saved fuel. They still made you pit. What happened?
I'm just really, really proud to drive for the U.S. Army and give our soldiers something to cheer for. We just about pulled this one off tonight. We had a great car. We changed our strategy right there at the end, and I saved a lot of gas, probably a lot more than they knew. We had such a spectacular car there at the end of the race. I didn't have to run it hard. There were a lot of laps that I didn't get the throttle wide open on the straightaways, and but you can't stop if somebody else stays out. So it's a privilege to drive for these guys. I want them to keep their chin up because we can win some of these races.
Yes, you can. Matt Yoakum.
34th to 4th for Carl Edwards, a huge work. I don't think anybody passed more cars, but a big team effort to get you back.
Oh yeah, a big team effort. We had a little bit of some sort of miscue. We got a penalty, and then we had one more problem in the pits, but the Aflac guys did a great job. Robbie made a great call with 2 tires to get us back on the lead lap. But man, that's as hard as I can drive right there, and it's good to know that we can be that fast at a track other than a mile and a half. It bodes well for the rest of the season, and just can't thank Aflac. And I've already drank all my vitamin water, came and drink one of them on camera. Thirsty as I can be, man, but we'll just move on, and it's a good points day, so and I had some fun, man.
Great recovery, Mike.
Jeff Burton will retain the point lead. There'll be at least one change in the top 35 when we go to Talladega in 2 weeks, as you have a look at the finish.
I just see this car continues to evolve into a better and better race car. There's some issues with it, but it's a lot better.
See a lot of guys there in the 11th through 20th that I think did not make a pit stop, ended up with a good finish. Casey Mears, Jimmy Johnson's teammate. Bobby Labonte, who had an engine problem, sat there and ended up finishing in the 12th position. And how about David Gilliland? Another top 15 run for him.
Pretty proud of my Ruderman, too. He finished 18th there in his car.
And a nice top 20 run for rookie Sam Hornish.
Yeah, good job, Sam.
Let's catch up with Dale Earnhardt Jr., who wound up 7th.
Well, Dale, you guys, I know you wanted to win this race, but you led a lot of laps, and you continue to put good numbers on the board.
Yeah, it's important. I gotta first off congratulate Jimmy. He had such a super car, and we actually used some of the things they were liking about their setup and fused it into our car yesterday afternoon, and that helped us out a lot. A lot of good information going back and forth. Hope Rick's happy about the win. I'm happy about it. I'm glad that we got one, and that usually means there's a lot more to come. And I'm proud of my team. My guys, they had some great pit stops, and we beat some guys off pit road. We got to lead some laps and run up front. That thing flipped the switch there at the end, and the tires were gone, and we just sort of lost a little bit there to them. Proud of my guys, though. They did some great adjustments, and we got another solid finish, and Hendrick comes away with a win, so I'm pretty happy.
Enjoy your week off. We'll see you at Talladega.
I'm going to enjoy it. Hope everybody else does, too. We got to recharging batteries. Got a long stretch of racing to go, and we got to get ready for it.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Disappointment of Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s voice. 70 races now he's going to hear about without a win. Jeff Hammond, as we take a look, and we'll have that open week before Talladega, but that cutoff point, the danger zone, guys like J.J. Yaley, Dave Blaney have some work to do.
They have some work to do, and they've got to go to Talladega here in a couple of weeks and qualify, and it's going to be a pretty tall order, and it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top.
Let's take a look at the points. So 8 races through, and you knew it was just a matter of time before Hendrick Carr pulling into victory lane. Jimmy Johnson winning here with 120 laps led. Dale Earnhardt Jr. 87 laps, and Jimmy 4th in points. Pretty much the top 12 remaining unchanged, even though Casey Kane and Ryan Newman had some tough runs today.
Yeah, all those guys stayed in the top 12, but a little bit of shuffling around. Jimmy Johnson moves up a little bit. Dale Earnhardt Jr. moved up a little bit. So again, it's very early in the season, but it's starting to shape up. Who's going to be probably in contention for the the chase.
And it's early in the baseball season, 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific next Saturday. Some of the matchups you'll see in high definition only on Fox. And in 2 weeks, it'll be from Talladega. Remember, Jeff Gordon had to hold off teammate Jimmy Johnson last year to win. Coming up next, late local news or Mad TV, depending upon where you're watching from. So Dale Earnhardt Jr., Mark Martin flirt with victory, but in the end, Jimmy Johnson and Hendrick Motorsports pulling out the victory.
Don't be surprised in a couple of weeks if you don't see Dale Earnhardt Jr. challenge for the win when we get to one of his favorite places, Talladega.
For Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers, remember in your prayers the family and friends of NASCAR official Brianne Davis, who passed away this past week. Thanks for watching NASCAR on Fox.